Good morning, afternoon, evening, however and whenever you have to be watching this. We appreciate you guys tuning into the Gaming Circle podcast. I am Kay Asante, as you can see, and I'm here as usual with my brother, Mr. Everborn Saga. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm fine, other than you missed a perfect opportunity to say good morning, Vietnam. But maybe you'll learn next week.
A whole swath of the viewing audience does not even know where that reference comes from. And beyond my grace, I don't like to age myself too much.
Well, I was going to say that's specifically why you should have said it. But I digress. I'm good. I just got my second shot today. So if I
so you're gonna
pass out in the
which one did you go with?
Pfizer.
Okay. Well, I'll just say
with the Moderna.
Good for you, sir. Some folks need to keep paying the bill, so we appreciate you.
Okay.
Anyway, so E3 is done. We're back at the Gaming Circle. We're having these conversations, but you know what? During E3 week and even before E3 week, we've been having these conversations. And there's been kind of an elephant in the room, right? It comes up on various shows. It comes up within our conversations privately. We happen to be on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick, and all the various ones I've heard on DPS. Many different podcasts talk about it, and it always seems to come up. And we are always we shy away from having like a full debate, real talk about it, because it devolves quickly into craziness, right? I guess we can both agree to that. It devolves into your team, my team ridiculousness real quick. But because you and I are on a different mission, and you and I seem to want to take this show in different directions, I kind of want to take this week after E3 has come and gone, after all this stuff is said and done. I want to take this week to kind of sit down and have this as much of a real talk convo as we can about tribalism in games. About you versus me, them versus us, blue versus green, PC master race, all that stuff. I kind of want to have a conversation about it. I want to discuss what it is, why it's used, is it good, is it bad? Because as you have correctly pointed out on many occasions, this is unique to the gaming environment. Most environments, most genres, most products of enjoyment don't have teams that are battling so vitriolically on a weekly, daily, hourly basis for their team. So I kind of want to understand it. I want to. We all think we do get it. We all think we do have an idea of why that is, and the trolling and the this and the that. But I feel like there's more to it. It beyond the trolls, right? They do what they do, and we know what they do. They're there for the purpose of just causing static and whatever. But there are many genuine folks in the gaming space who you respect, who I respect, who will say things that you'll go, really? Their conversation warrants scrutiny, because otherwise they are genuine individuals that usually have intelligent things to say beyond the question, beyond the back and forth in the tribalism thing. So I feel like for those folks that we usually look at with respect, it's worth analyzing what's going on. Do you disagree?
Well, I do think it's important because I think a lot of times in today's world, we conflate things we disagree with as disingenuous, right? Okay. And I think a lot of the times it's easy to say that, okay, this person is saying something that I don't like, or that I disagree with, or that I think is fundamentally wrong. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that they are being disingenuous.
They're not being malicious, is what you're saying.
Right. Okay. Like, so just because you don't agree with it doesn't in and of itself make it other side kind of thing.
Understood. What's up,
Scrub Nurse? I was gonna say he's in the building, but he's in the yard.
So. He's in the yard, indeed. We appreciate you joining us. We're gonna try to keep the conversation moving for you.
To quote Styles P, If you think you hard, meet me in the yard.
Meet me in the yard. I remember that. That's been a while. Anyway, so yeah, I appreciate where you're coming from that perspective. What I will ask is, let's first kind of define it a little bit loosely. You know, when I say tribalism, I mean the them versus us. You have Xbox going, PlayStation folks are fools. You have PlayStation going, Xbox or whatever they are. You have PC master race going, you all are morons. You know, all the back and forth. You know, to me, usually
I feel like PC gets a pass though. I don't like. I just feel like they've always kind of been smelling their own farts. So
well, but you know what? Look, okay, and I'm the technical PC guy, right? I'm the PC. Well, I'm not the PC guy. I'm the technical guy. I still game on console more than PC, but I kind of have a better relationship with PC than most. But I would say, when it comes to that stuff, from a technical perspective, I see PC folks have more. They have more of a right to say what they say than others do.
That's what I'm saying.
But they usually don't.
I think the problem.
Look at them like these kids.
By the way, we're doing exactly what we're talking about right now.
I know.
But I think the issue I find with a lot of PC guys is they are in the spirit of the law, but not the letter of the law, which is theoretically PC is better. But then you have to ask the follow-up question: is your PC better?
True,
right?
True.
And that answer will not be yes for
everybody.
A good amount of the people that are saying PC master race.
Sure. And I think that's a very good place to point it, because even though they're PC master racing left and right, when you dig into the details, you'll find that most folks have like 6th gen CPUs, 16 gigs of RAM, and running on a normal hard drive.
1060s
that's right.
on an i5.
Yeah.
And 16 gigs.
So that tells you not necessarily that, mine's better than yours. It's that I want to join the conversation and be able to take this moniker, even though when you dig into the details, I specifically may not measure up, but my team does. So I kind of want to rep my team, kind of. So it seems, right? But I guess my question to start this all off is, why? Okay. Why now? I guess is a better question. I understand why then. Because
no. I think we need some context for that. What do you mean? Why? Okay. Why do you understand then? So, when is then? And what is there to understand?
Now. Okay. So to lay the groundwork, and you made reference to Good Morning Vietnam, so that aged you. But this is not as old as the other one. But still, I'll ask the question. I will still ask the question. Do you remember Sega does what Nintendo don't?
I remember that very vividly.
Exactly. I honestly think back then those were the conversations being had, and those were that was a competition of its day, because it needed to be the competition of its day. If you analyze the offerings at the time, all they literally had were pieces of plastic that did this specific purpose, right? That's what they were for. That's all they did. That's it, right? So if you want to play Mortal Kombat 1 on a Nintendo, on a Super Nintendo, we'll say, you're playing with punches that look like dust comes off of them when they do it, right? Versus on Sega, there's real blood spurt down, right? So that that moment,
not real blood, just red dust.
Well, but more red dust, right? But you see what I'm saying, right? At that time, that was the differentiating factor, and that's all they had. That's all any of them ever had, and because of that, there was a reason for that, right? But today, I don't understand the reason for that debate. If you check, I have a few YouTube channels. If you check an old YouTube channel of mine called The Angry Gamer, all
over the place.
Stop it. You will see there was an old, and I wrote this a long time ago, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just putting it out. That basically asked that question: why is there back and forth today? Because today, you specifically, Everborn, as we've discussed on a few occasions, you are example of why this console war back and forth is useless. You're a guy who took a break from console gaming altogether, right? And then came back.
5 years.
That's right. And then came back, and we are in a new generation, new hardware, both on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. You're finding gems left and right. You have no specific dog in the fight.
After their bugs are all fixed.
That's right. You have no real dog in the fight because your PC is like my PC. We have pretty good PCs. I would say probably maybe 1% of the population has better PCs than we do at this point. Because I know your specs to mine.
You want to drop some specs on them just so they understand what's going on.
Most folks don't even know what we're talking about when we talk about specs. But yes, we have 8th gen i9 processors. We have 64 gigs of RAM. We both have 1080. We both have 3080s. I'm not sure which 3080 you have. I have the 3080 FTW EVGA.
I got whatever came with the Alienware that I bought and upgraded.
Okay, yeah. Yes, and mine is basically a hodgepodge of parts. Asus motherboard, Intel CPU, bunch of RAM,
PC
SSD,
Master Racing right now.
Whatever. So we could potentially say, hey, PC Master Race, and we would have the right legs to stand on because my version of Horizon Zero Dawn looks better than anybody else's on console. That's true. That's fact. But I still play it on console because I like the console. I like the way it plays. I like hey, you turn it on, you put the disc in, you move it on. I don't want to deal with all of the back and forth. Actually, I do have the game on PC, but usually when I'm playing on PC, I'm adding mods. I'm adding like ray tracing that doesn't exist. I'm doing weird stuff because that's what PC is for to me. To me, PC is for turning regular PC games into VR games because you can.
See, here's the thing about again, we're doing it again, but with PC, yes. I really feel like if it's the equivalent of when I was younger and I used to want to get cars and work on them, change the transmission, upgrade all these things.
Exactly. It's the difference between Apple and Android. Power user versus daily driver.
But I drive a Tesla now. I don't want to get under any hoods. I don't have time for that shit. I just want to go and sit down. But at the end of the day,
at least you understand why that is. You understand the use case for the differences, right? You understand, hey, PC folks may like this, console folks may like that. I guess my question is, exactly as you brought up, those who like to tinker. Back in the day, I had an Eclipse. I used to tinker all the time. Way back in the
I had a Jetta and I had a Honda Civic. Okay. Actually, I had 2 Civics and 3 Jettas. Okay. I don't know why I kept going back and forth between those cars, but that's neither here nor there.
Jettas. Jettas were great. I like Jettas. Jettas are real fun to drive around. But yes, I get that. But in those days, even in my youth, when you were spending, 10 grand on rims, which I did stupidly, even when you were doing that, you weren't looking at those who on the other side and go, you're the shit. No, you look at them and go, ooh, that's cool. How'd you do that? And then you may incorporate it into yours. It was always I was on a different team.
But I feel like that to me really still mirrors what the PC world is, because everybody's happy to tell you about their rig, how they got the setup they got, what settings they're using. If you tell somebody you got less than 60 FPS, the first thing they're going to say is what settings are you using? And to me, all of those setting things are too daunting. I don't want to think about that. I have to think about enough when I'm at work. I don't want to go and have to move levers around to get the right optimal thing. I'm here to play. This is not supposed to be another job.
I get you. And honestly, I think that's where that's where we're both the same in it. I love gaming on PC. I do. Every once in a while I'll turn on Cyberpunk and it is still glorious on my PC. Beautiful with a capital B. Oh wow.
You're not supposed to say
that. I'm still waiting.
Where's your yellow chair?
My yellow chair. I'm not quite good at that level yet, my friend.
Oh, we got the mag in the building. What's happening?
Yes, he is. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much.
While crushing a workout, making me feel bad because I'm sitting down all day.
Yeah, I know. Yes. But yes, so I guess still my question is why? Why? Because even within the PC, like you correctly pointed out, within the PC ranks, right? Within the PC ranks, if somebody has discovered something cool and new, hey, I discovered this cool new thing. Hey, maybe you want to try this. But within console spaces, it never ever seems to be that way. There's always that, hey, mine's great, yours is crap. Mine's this, yours, like, and I guess I want to understand it. I want to try and understand why it is that specifically in the plastic space, in the built for gaming space, there's this need for tribalism.
Because it was cultivated that way. And like I said, oh, Big Bad Mo, what's happening? I think we've been cultivated that way since we were children, right? And so
what Nintendo don't.
Right.
Yes.
That's absolutely what it was. And it was that level of competition that we bought into. But as kids, many of us had to choose one or the other.
Exactly.
Right. And because we had to choose one or the other, that's what we would have to fight for, whether we were right or wrong. We had to make it look like it was the best, because we would go into the schoolyard and we would argue with friends, and that would just be it. And I think we've carried that with us, because it's the same group of people that's still gaming in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, right?
All very righteous points.
But further, I think that because we've taken that with us, and I also think that as human beings, we've carried that forward, even though when we can't afford to get both right now, it's just been ingrained in us.
Yeah, I get you.
Right, and so we still do it because we're old now, and it's hard to break old habits. Now, the next part of it is it's a combination of things, right? But I think that we see this all over the place. And I know we said it's just this medium, but I think we see this also in politics, right? We see these sort of...
I see a lot of analogies.
Right, these situational ethics where everything the other side does is wrong, everything the other side does is disingenuous, and you can't have any meaningful conversation that will move things forward, right?
So here's my question about that. What you just said, I get you, but why? Like, where can we have a happy medium where real wrong can be pointed out and real right can be pointed out, and it doesn't automatically devolve in because they said it's wrong and because these people said it's right? Where is that? How can we hit that middle? That's where I want to go.
I think the other piece of it, this is the other piece is just the nature of social media, but which is what I think is driving all of this. Right. I think that as a people, and I say this as a person who is not religious in the slightest, but I think that as human beings, we need to believe in something. We need purpose. We need community, right? And I think that as we sort of have moved away from, religious causes and things, just as a people, which I think is ultimately, I actually think that's a good thing, right?
Okay.
But I think we still have, that's still in our DNA to be tribalistic, right? And so we create these causes, and this is why you see people wrapping their identities up into these corporations. So those things become their new religion, right? And
so people, what you're saying is people need that kind of belief, and if it's not religious belief, they need to find some other kind of
something. It'll be the MCU. It will be Apple. It will anything. It's just right. So then they now have to become evangelists, and anything that goes against that, since their identity is wrapped up in it, feels like an attack on them. And so they have to be on the defensive and offensive all the time and spread the word of spread the gospel of their newfound religion, which is worshiping any given corporation.
Okay.
And Twitter and all these other places is a cesspool for that. That's really why it all exists. And so you see that amalgamation of things coming together. So it's what we've brought forward with us from the Sega days. It is the losing of religion, and it is the platform that is specifically designed to bubble up these kinds of conversations.
And that is a very intelligent amalgamation of what's going on. And I agree with you by and large that that's what it is. But I guess my question is, why is it that that's something that we can see? You can see it, I can see it, and many intelligent folks can see it. But somehow, some way, whenever the those with resources have it and they decide it, they can literally turn it on, and then you turn into that pawn that walks and talks just like they need you to walk and talk. Even when this is clear now, you're not a child anymore. You know, I'm a 40-year-old man. There are many adults online, many of them who I respect, like seriously respect, because they have earned that respect, right? They have accomplished things in their life. They have maybe in the gaming space, they've made games that I really appreciate. And let's be clear, as a tech guy myself, I know making a game is very, very hard. Anyone
Yeah,
that
I mean,
releases even a bad game needs respect, because getting that thing to the finish line is so tough. It's just so tough. You will not understand.
I feel like you're pointing at me right now, but I'm not.
Look. You know, you don't have
Game
to
is
say
coming.
that. You don't, no. But specifically, you don't have to say that because that's self-serving. I'm saying that on your behalf because I know it is very tough. Okay, I have like my piece is here. My console is in the other office. I have built the game, put it on the console using the dev mode, and played it there, and went and it took me about 3 years to get there. And from that point, I haven't gotten to the point where it gets to the store. Gaming making is tough, okay? And that's just me just BSing, okay? So I refuse to, if you're a gamer or you're a game dev or you are involved in any piece of that puzzle and you're out there, even if you speak on things that I may not necessarily agree with you on, I don't want to out and out just go, oh, he's a bot, oh, he's this, oh, he's that, because it takes a certain level of intelligence to get there.
It's easier to put you in that category than to dissect whatever you're actually saying.
Of course.
So, and that's why I said we have to try to look at the things that we disagree with and understand why they upset us or why we disagree with them. Because a lot of the times we'll just say, "Oh, that person is being disingenuous,"
and then move on. Yes, exactly. And that's
right?
why that's why I bring this conversation up. Yeah,
your governor right now, because you're in Florida, just signed a bill that would require people to disclose their political affiliations, right? Because that way I can say, well, you are a Republican or you're a Democrat, so therefore I don't have to listen to you. Because
let's not have a conversation about my governor, because first and foremost, I take offense to the fact that you say he's my governor. That's neither here nor there.
Your state is your governor. If I got to deal with Cuomo, you got to deal with DeSantis.
Oh, I would deal with Cuomo twice on Sunday. I wish I could throw this dude off a bridge. That's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there. Okay, let's not have that conversation, because you know that'll bring up a whole different. But I do understand the parallels between politics and the vitriol and the tribalism in gaming and religion. They all really line up and fit. They really line up and they fit. And honestly, I think that is also part of the basis of me wanting to bring this conversation together, because I see that in those instances, but I feel like nobody else gets that. And if they did, they would probably take a step back and go, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes. We're trying to look like those idiots. You know what I'm saying? I feel like people are so far gone in the gaming space doing what they do that they don't see that they're turning into Fox News and MSNBC. And if they did see that maybe that would go, whoa, we don't want to be associated like that, so we may not want to keep going down that path. Maybe we want to pump the brakes. We're just enjoying games.
Here's the problem. Fox News has historically been one of, if not the highest rated news network.
Of course, it still is.
As they say, sex sells, right? Mm-hmm. They serve red meat.
And now we're talking about the gaming media
every day, and they know that it will get traction because the centered voice is the voice that people.
It's the boring voice.
Right. But if you go out to the extreme, you say something that will either get people angry or get people cheering. That's the thing that moves people. And it is easier to motivate angry people than it is to motivate people who are happy or satisfied, right? And so you have to be hyperbolic if you want to get the eyeballs of people. And just think about this. You're walking in a crowded flea market, right? There are vendors everywhere. You're going to look at the vendor that has the biggest sign, the one who is screaming, and they will get your attention because you have so many options. And so in many cases, it is of monetary value because you can monetize a community if you build it. And so if you build a community around, sure. Yeah. But if you can build a community around your dislike of something and you can monetize that. And there is monetary, you're asking why it happens today, because the platforms that we are on, there's monetary value in it, not just for the big media outlets, but also for individuals building channels with communities that come together. Because the bigger point is, we all in life have issues, right, that we're angry about, right? Like, you can't tell your boss, I hate you, right? You can't tell your wife, I don't love you anymore. You can't tell your kids. I mean, you can, but you know what I'm saying? The point is, people go, you know what I mean, around life every day having to bottle up their anger. And
but then they go on the internet and they let it out.
Right, and it's a space for outlet. And if you just point them in a direction, they are happy for that. They're happy to give them something to focus their rage at. And this is how the grifter economy was born. Right? And so
but
all of that plays into why we see this.
All that you say makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Okay. But I don't know. Maybe it's that's where and usually I consider myself a pretty pessimistic dude, but that's where my optimism gets dashed a bit, because I would think, I don't consider myself the smartest man in any room, but this is just so blatant, so like naked in its face, that they use that, whether it be companies or media organizations or trolls on the internet. It's so blatant. If you've noticed, if you check my Twitter timeline, back in the day, you'd see me back and forth a lot because I like the tech talk. I like the debate, as you could probably attest. I like the back and forth. But I only like the back and forth when it's about, like, when we can agree to this one fact, and then we can debate that one fact. We can see it from multiple angles, it's fine, but that one fact still remains, right? What's happening now is they move the facts back and forth to fit the narrative, which completely loses the thread, right? Then it just becomes a circle jerk. It becomes one of those situations. And that's why you'll see that in like, if you check my timeline, you'll notice that back in the day, we used to have a lot of debate back and forth. You know, hey, what will this piece of tech do? What will this mean? What will that mean? But you'll see that I don't do that as much anymore.
All the joy out of that.
They take it out of it. That's right. That's right.
And I used to, I was hopeful at the beginning of this generation, because I was like, okay, I'm a tech guy, and there's all of these gamers that are now into tech, and they want to know what these things do. But then it became, people tried to begin using it as this sort of weapon, and then
what's worse is they don't use the knowledge as a weapon. They think they have the knowledge that you're using as a weapon. And by and large, most of the time, it's like everything else, a small slogan that they pick, a little piece that they go, oh, this is it. But one thing you learn in technology is there are nuances. There's never a left to right. It's left to right, except this, except that, except this. And that's all computers are. So when you start picking and going, oh, the SSD is the fastest in the world, there's always a nuance there. Oh, we have the most powerful console in the world. There's always but if you focus so solely on that slogan, you always end up being wrong, because it's just a slogan. And that the details are always more nuanced.
I think that, and just to bring the tribalism to the technology part of it, I think that I've been very clear. I look at all of these games as art. And I think that when you try to boil them down to ones and zeros, and I know it's a computer program, so literally they are ones and zeros, but when you try to boil down art down to ones and zeros, it takes all the soul out of what you're trying to do.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
So my argument is not, and has never been, no one can point to anywhere in any argument that I've made on anyone's show or on Twitter about this thing needs to have 60 FPS or it needs to be 4K native or bust, right?
We appreciate it, Mag. That's what we're here for today.
Thank you.
Today we're trying to get some real talk going.
So my point is, everything is about experience. So you could make a 2D platformer that is the best game of the generation.
Exactly.
Or you could make The Last of Us, which is this technical masterpiece, right? It is what your stated goals are. And again, we can say most powerful console, or we could say fastest SSD, or whatever we want to say. But at the end of the day, as a developer, once you give the developer the constraints, meaning this is the systems you are working with,
these are your limits,
these are the tools you have. Now, what they do next is what separates the wizards from the muggles. Exactly. What they do next is they say, okay, well, this system works this way. I'm going to take that and I'm going to try to hide the
I'm going to bend the rules. I'm going to break the rules if I can. And I'm going to make more than what's capable here.
Or at least give the impression that I'm punching above my weight.
That's right.
Right?
Exactly.
And so that is what we should ultimately be looking at. Now, I think Sony makes a lot of the same games. That's fine. That's my opinion. But on the flip side, I think that on the Xbox side, we tend to look too much at those specs because at the time, I understand talking about specs because we didn't have the system yet. And when you're talking in the lead up to next gen, all there is to talk about is the specs of these next gen consoles and what the things are going to do. But I think when we are fighting this, what is really a culture war, I think we tend to look at things like that. We tend to try to find whatever advantages our sides have and then make those to be the most important things. Whatever advantage the competition has or the other side has, make those seem like they focused on the wrong things.
Yeah, it becomes detrimental.
So it's like, where's your SSD now, or where's your 12 teraflops now? Yeah.
See, and
none of that matters. What you should look at is what you are playing.
See, that's where I disagree with you. That's where I disagree with you, because there are multiple conversations being had, and I honestly think that some folks are having the wrong conversations with the wrong people. Okay, when you're talking to me specifically, we can have a tech conversation, right? I want to have a tech conversation with you. To me, the tech conversation matters, but that's not because it matters more than the games. No, we are tech people. We have tech talk. I like the idea of how they're going to take, let's just say, the Series S, for instance, and they're going to use machine learning to make it punch above its weight. All that stuff is very interesting to me. It has nothing to do with the game we're talking about, because Celeste can be game of the year, and that's a 2D platformer that plays on a Switch. You see what I'm saying? And I
Breath
hate
of
the
the
argument.
Wild was the game of the generation.
There you go. I hate the argument that, oh, look at Xbox versus PlayStation. How is it they have so much hardware, but then you see a picture of Last of Us versus a picture of, I don't know, Recore or something? That's not a one-to-one argument. It's the dumbest. This is why I'm like, they're having different conversations, and they're having the conversation that I have with the people I can have it with, but they're using those things incorrectly. Like, we're having a tech talk. I've said it online a couple times, and it blew up virally a little bit. I said it on DPS a while ago, and they agreed with me. You can have the best hammer in the business. Doesn't mean you build the best house. Okay? And when tech guys are having conversations about the best hammer, that's the conversation we're having about the best hammer. Doesn't automatically mean the house is better than anybody else's house, right? Because where that matters, and I'll give you another analogy. Where that matters is Jordan. He could be naked and dunk all over you, even if you have his sneakers on. His sneakers don't make him the greatest of all time. We can have a conversation about his sneakers, and it doesn't automatically lead to who's better than.
So my thing is this. If we're having a conversation about tech, I just want it to be people who care about the tech.
Exactly.
In and of itself.
In and of itself. That's the
not
point.
That they're using the tech.
Not that automatically because you've said it, now all of a sudden they have to make a game that's better than The Last of Us. Who said that? That's a different conversation, because that conversation is, like, to me, that Last of Us conversation is, wow, look at these brilliant geniuses using whatever limitations they are given to excel. That's that combo. No, because that's what that combo is.
But what the thing I'm saying is, like, if I'm having a conversation about tech, like Pixelbit G said,
yes,
I want it to be with people who care about,
who understand and care. Tech. That's right.
Not
and the minute I recognize
using a tech, or using a spec, or using a digital foundry analysis.
That's right. Just to use
aim it at their opponents, because
that's the reason
is worthless.
That's right. And that's the reason why the minute I see we're having this debate back and forth and it turns into console warplace, I'm out. Because that means you're not there. Chances are you're not there for the reason I'm there. And chances are you probably don't even understand what you're talking about, because you're just trying to find bullets for that proverbial console war gun. And I'm not there for that. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoy the tech talk. You know, like right now, in the real debate that I think that PlayStation and Xbox should be having is, how is it that Xbox has on paper way better hardware, right? But that shows you the skill of the developers that PlayStation has, because they're able to take the detriment, which is their less than, about 20-30% less than, and still hide it. Whereas on the Xbox side, although they have that 30% uplift, they still have not been able to convince people that's real, because their skill and their technology hasn't come to the forefront yet. Whether they're still planning on doing so, whether it's still going to happen, COVID and all of that. You know, in today's day and age, everyone's convinced that Ratchet and Clank is quote unquote next gen, and that next gen phrase, that's another thing I want to talk about.
All right,
whereas we can talk about something else. You know what I'm saying? And
we can talk about Ratchet and Clank if you want, because I just finished it this week, and I know you finished it.
But like, my point is, that's where I enjoy that conversation, because to me that tells you Insomniac are brilliant, you know, and they need to be praised, because what are they doing? They're taking, no matter what it is, take whatever it is, take a piece of paper the size of your thumb or an A4 legal size paper. They're taking that limitation, that's your paper, and they're painting outside of it and getting you to see.
I think that Insomniac is very good at hiding seams.
Yes, that's the debate that should be had.
And that's
the conversation.
Give you and this is all a magician does, right? A magician is taking everyday stuff, hiding the seams, and making it seem like magic.
This is the conversation that is valuable. We need to be talking about, how the hell did they take Jaguar cores and make a game that looks better than PC games? This is the conversation that should be had. And it shouldn't be, because the console is the best. It's not the best. No hardware is the best. As we've established, we have the best, like, by and large, right? You can find harder, more beefier machines. You can buy a 3090. I chose not to go that ridiculous route. But besides the 3090, I have everything you need to have the best gaming rig of all time. But guess what? Flight Sim still runs at like 45, 50 frames per second on my monster rig. And somehow, Xbox is going to come out with this game that will run 60 frames per second on the Series X and S. We will see. Yes,
let's see the game before we.
But you understand what I'm saying? Just like The Last of Us 2 was able to release a game that, I don't care how you feel about the story, by and large, that was the masterpiece of masterpieces when it comes to output. Okay. The graphics, the textures, how they hid all the things that they hid. All of that is very valuable, and those are the conversations that I love having. I
like Pixel's point, right? Mm-hmm. Because I do think we pretend, or it's just universally accepted that Sony's the only one that has those magician
That's
developers.
Right.
And I don't know that that's the case, because like I don't think anyone will argue with you when the most popular gaming engine in the industry is Unreal 4 currently.
Yeah.
Who is the best at using Unreal 4? The best, hands down.
Microsoft.
Coalition, correct?
Yeah, Microsoft.
Right?
Coalition. Yeah.
Halo Guardians came out in
outside
2015.
of Epic themselves.
No, inside of Epic. What does Epic have that looks better than what Gears is doing?
Well, but see, that's a mistake. Just because their representative is Fortnite doesn't automatically mean they don't know what they're doing. They chose a different art style. They chose a different art style. Doesn't mean their technical prowess is different.
Fantastic. That game runs across multiple platforms. And as
at the highest clip and is able to. Yes. That's right.
Cool. But again, do they have any high fidelity output?
They don't need to have high fidelity output specifically for this game.
Okay.
Remember, they've had other games, and let me be clear here. Like some of their games that didn't work out, Epic has had many games of recent that didn't work out. I forget the name of their MOBA. I mean, they even released all of the assets on the Unreal Store.
Did it look better than Hivebusters?
Oh hell yeah, hell yeah! Look at that game. Oh, it was.
What's the name? But
it's on PC. It was. That's my point. My point is, it was on PC. And look, the point of the matter is the debate, that argument that folks make that, oh, look at this game, doesn't look like that game. That is a very simplistic, sloganistic argument that should be stopped.
Anyway, further to the point that Pixel was making, look at Halo Guardians in 2015 running at 60 frames a second, mostly at 1080p on the VCR Xbox One.
That's right.
Look at what they were able to do. So let us
even
and
Switch,
look at how
look at Breath of the Wild on Switch.
Exactly.
These are the conversations that are worth having. Not the that plastic is great. Do you know that the Switch has exactly the same hardware as the NVIDIA Shield that I bought in 2015? Like the exact same hardware. And to this day, they still make the Switch shine like it's a new console that's flying off the shelf.
My iPhone is way more powerful than what's
more powerful. Right. Way more. But they'll never have a game that looks as good as Breath of the Wild. Unless
or plays as good as Odyssey.
That's right. And these are the conversations that should be had, in my technical opinion. You see what I'm saying? Leave my plastic is better than your plastic to those.
I do want to have the conversation of the benefits of Kraken and Sony's SSD and that whatever they're doing with the smart shift and the benefits of like smart shift versus sustained clocks or more compute units versus
shifting your clock left and right. That's right. That's right.
That to me that's the meat and potatoes of the conversation that what I've had. But it always devolves into nonsense. So you can never really have that conversation. Right?
Indeed.
There's never been an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Nintendo. Well, I didn't own the first Nintendo because we were poor back then. But from Super Nintendo on, there's never been an Xbox, PlayStation, or Sega console that I have not owned. I might spend most of my time on Xbox, but I'm fascinated by all these things.
Me too.
Right? Yes. And I wish people could get together around what they love as opposed to what they hate. And I will argue that all those people building communities around what they hate, they usually have a ceiling. They never get above that ceiling. And then they try to shift, but everyone remembers what they used to do.
So speaking of what you just brought up here, this leads good into really well into transitioning into where I want to go with this conversation, which is the environment, the platform holders, the manufacturers, the gaming media. Like it's like they've seen that this is the established narrative, just like they've seen that your negativity brings them together, only has a certain ceiling. They've seen all that. So now it's a game of it's like pawns. Let's move them. Today it's this outrage. Tomorrow it's that outrage, because you can't stay on one outrage too long, like you said, because the ceiling hits and then people just fall off. So it's now a game of okay, today it's they apologized. Tomorrow it's Sony is charging for crossplay. The next day it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's become this game of let's move our pawns, our clickbait pawns on the field and keep them clickbaiting, right? I hear why they do that. Obviously, we don't even need to debate why. We don't need to talk about why these folks are doing what they're doing because it makes business sense, right? I guess my question is it that folks don't recognize that that they're being played and used this way, or is it that, well, I don't give a F because I'm in it to
I
win?
think the term fog of war comes to mind, right?
Okay.
So while you are in it, I don't think you realize that.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people get into this like nonsense sort of because like they're all too happy to have regurgitated to them what they want to hear already. And it really comes back to, if you're telling me what I want to hear, I don't really have time to question it because it's the info I was looking for.
What do they call that? Your own
confirmation bias.
Whatever. Confirmation bias. Yes.
Right. So now, and a lot of people don't even realize why that they get happy or angry about things, I think. Right. So if you are only pissed off at a certain community and you're always pissed off at what they do, maybe that's justified, but you should ask yourself why that is.
Why is that? Yeah.
Right.
You should have the same kind of energy for everyone rather than only one side. And if you don't, question why that is.
So you can't on the one, so a thing that I don't like, right? Before Xbox had all the studios, you had people arguing about exclusives are anti-consumer. And I always thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And people got mad at Sony with the Spider-Man thing, and they tried to cry, this is this and this is that. And I didn't like it, but at the end of the day, I wanted Spider-Man to stay in the MCU, and I knew that was probably tied to it. So it is what it is. You want to play with Spider-Man, you go to the Sony console. That's it. You like it or not. But you can't on the one hand say Xbox should buy every studio, and then on the other hand say Sony is being anti-consumer with Spider-Man. I don't think any.
Well, okay. No. See, honestly, that specific argument you're making, you can't make that specifically you, because you probably came at it on the tail end of it. During the time when it was the flip side, the reason why that's happening, your description of it, and you have heard that, and I've heard that as well. And I see it differently than you do because that's what you're seeing now. But whenever I hear that in my head and I go, oh, that's a dude who's been playing on Xbox for like 9 years or something, or has been part of that community for that long. Why? Because during that time frame,
I do remember the Tomb Raider thing.
And this is what happened over and over. And people keep talking about the Tomb Raider thing like that's the only example. Street Fighter.
Yeah, Street Fighter 5. It didn't come.
The exact same thing happened to PlayStation, but they didn't get the vitriol. When Xbox helped develop, because that's what happened. They helped pay for the development, and because of that, there was a timed exclusive. People, even let me finish. Even like your IGNs and all those whose job it is to know the full details, even they like managed to weaponize folks and go, oh, it was vitriolic, oh, it's bad for consumers, even though they themselves knew that Microsoft was helping pay for development. Okay, that's all the narrative was. When Street Fighter became exclusive, right? The first thing you heard is, oh, well, Sony's funding it, so it makes sense. Now, yes, they had their own slice of hate, but that was because they released a game that wasn't finished. They released a buggy ass game with Street Fighter. So because of that, it became less than perfect. But at the end of the day, it seems like when one side does it, it's when the other side does it, it's
so I will agree with you there.
And that's the reason why. That's the reason why today, all of us who have watched from the past, I can see people going, screw that. You want to do this back and forth? Well, then granddad Microsoft has opened their wallet, and they are more wallet than you. So if we want to play that world, then guess what? Buy them all. I see that because those are people who are frustrated all that time getting,
What I'm saying is the argument that people, I see Pixel want all the smoke. Cost you $5 No, but my point is, when you cannot on one hand say that exclusives don't matter because all people play are multiplats, right? Yep. And then on the other hand, say Xbox needs to buy everybody. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And then on the flip side of it, you cannot pretend that this is the other thing that annoys me a little bit. People hear that number, like Microsoft stopped giving numbers on what they sold on the Xbox, right? We don't know what that is. But people keep going with 114 million PlayStations. There's not 114 million PlayStations in the wild. They've released PlayStation Slims. They've released PlayStation Pros, right? So all of those are people. A lot of people bought multiple systems, so it's not actually that many.
Me, myself, and I have 3 Xboxes in this house, and I have 3 PlayStations in this house. So that would be what? Right. That would count as 3 sales per.
Yes,
no, I'm one guy that plays, from room to room. So that number is not exactly accurate.
You can't, on the one hand, say that the number of units sold matters, and then on the other hand, say that because the whole point of selling a console is to have an active user. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yes, so of course. That is the business model of. That's the OG business model. Yes.
What I'm saying is an active user is an active user. So you can't on the one hand say that matters and then say 23 or whatever million Game Pass subs don't matter. You can't say that. You can't say that there are 100 million Xbox Live users every month across console and PC, right? And if you are an Xbox Live user, that means you logged into the Xbox app on your PC to play a game there, or you're on the PlayStation. So if you look at both of those, right, those numbers are in similar ballparks.
So here's a question. Here's a weird question. That's a quick side note. If you're playing Minecraft on, let's say, PlayStation, and you like on my Vita, I have a Vita back there. I have Minecraft on the Vita. And then I sign into Xbox Live because, yes, you can. You can sign into Xbox Live from your Vita while you're playing Minecraft. Is that an active PlayStation user or not?
Knowing Microsoft how they fast and loose with those.
Might be an active Xbox user, right? Yeah. Because you're touching their network, right? You're on their network.
No. Microsoft does play very fast and loose with what they qualify as an active user. So I don't know this, but I would lean on the side of yes.
You see where I'm going with that?
Try to count it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No. I hear you, but that argument you're making would purport that the people who are making that argument are being genuine, and I don't think they are. I think that is one of those. Hey, we need a talking point. This works as a talking point, so we'll use it until somebody disproves it, and then we'll find something else. That is not a real thing because
put Scrub Nurse's comment up there.
Let's see. I look at Xbox/PlayStation /Xbox fans as kids been punched in the face for years at school, and now they've been working out and they're flexing on everyone. Exactly my point.
But exactly my point. I think another thing with why we are where we are today, because it's very strange. Like, here's another example. A lot of people point to the first year PlayStation lineup and say, which is, it is what it is, right? I think.
What do you mean? This first year's PlayStation? Yes, you mean PS5's lineup?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And they say what?
No. It just said, look what's happening here. Wow, this is great, right? As though it's an indicative of the entire generation. But look how the Xbox One generation started, right?
They had great games from day one, and they ended up losing it. Yes.
So I think
when it comes to that, though, it's because PlayStation rightly has built up that consumer base to always assume the best of them. They have not screwed the pooch yet, right? I hold it a little bit more Like I love what Mag always says. He loves his PlayStation, but is not necessarily the biggest fan of Sony. I kind of feel the same way when it comes to that because they have built up enough cachet and enough like confidence in the market to know that when they release something, it will be great, right?
No, it's like a Marvel movie when it comes out. They've
Exactly.
done so much great
Yes.
things that when there's a certain expectation around and a certain
it's not
hype
from
around
1 to
any
10.
release.
It's not from 1 to 10. It gets a 10 from day one, and it's more likely to lose points rather than gain points because they come in expecting a 10.
I'd say it's from 8 to 10. That's what it is. That's
sure. That's where they start.
But
when it drops to 7, then it's like, oh my god, let's move on to the other 10 real quick.
But I think they've earned that, and that's the thing that Microsoft has to earn right now.
I agree. See, now in my world, what Microsoft has earned is whenever I buy a game, I buy it, if it's a multi-plat, I buy it on Xbox. Why? Because I know that the Xbox 720 or whatever the hell comes out in 15 years will still play the game that I bought 20 years, and my saves will continue. They have built up the mind share that the infrastructure is well laid and everyone knows it, and there's never any issues. So in that respect, they have built up that same kind of respect that PlayStation enjoys with quality games, right? That's why I play most of my multi-plats on Xbox, because I know that it doesn't matter how many years go by, if a new game comes out and, hey, I want to try that. Remember I played that Crisis Remastered. I bought it like however many years ago. Now I'm on xCloud is the only thing that exists now. I can play it anywhere on my fridge. I can play that Crisis Remaster from 15 years ago. You know, and it'll work exactly the same way it did. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, in my head, they built it. I guess where I want to go is, it's true. You're absolutely right that these things help the businesses move along. I get that. I guess where I want to go is, how is it that these adults who used to be kids, used to be fighting on the playground, I get all that, absolutely righteous. How is it that they do not see? They don't see this. That because pawns being used in this game of ridiculousness.
Why did people storm the Capitol?
Oh, that's different.
Is it?
That's an analogy that I can see you making.
No. What I'm saying is take the politics out of it. What could convince? But think about it. I'm talking about the human motivations. What could convince people to storm the Capitol?
Stupidity and propaganda.
Okay.
That's what
I think you have your answer for why people don't understand this.
Well, I get that. Look, and I guess it's surface level, but I guess I'm not the smartest man in the room.
Okay, let me put
Why is it that folks are, and I guess maybe I'll reframe the question in a different way. Why is it that folks are so content to be pigs in mud, enjoying that, rather than recognizing, hey, maybe we should, you know what I'm saying? I feel like when your gaming media or your manufacturers, when the news comes out that, oh, that game that convinced you to buy the next gen console because, oh, it's so next gen, it's the only way you can get it. Now they're saying it's on the previous gen. When that stuff comes out, folks don't sit there and go, it doesn't inform their knowledge. They just go, whoop, and they just keep back at the fight.
I think
when that knowledge should inform you that you're being fooled. That's where
I think, unfortunately, people are all too happy to be lied to. Right? So tell me the lie, because that is easier for me to digest. Right? Give me the bad calorie fast food, right? Because that's easier to handle than a more complex truth, right? And that, to me, is why this will continue, because if I can put you into a narrow box and create a straw man out of you, if I can call you an xbot, or I can call you a pony.
Then I don't have to move on.
Then I don't have to confront my own the shortcomings in my own beliefs.
Sure. Yep.
Right. And that's simply what it is. So because the creed that I live by is that any idea that I have that cannot stand up to debate is a bad idea.
Not a good idea. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So yes. I should be able to be in a room full of vultures with my ideas. And if it
should come out shining,
right,
that's right.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
That is the forge.
My motto is the man that knows something knows he knows nothing at all. If you think you know something, you never learn anything new. So I'm always accepting new information to then analyze against your current information.
To quote Black Thought, fools think they're wise, wise men know they're foolish.
They know they're fools. That's right. Let's transition not off of this topic, but I kind of want to.
I see some Tesla talk in the chat. Yes, I like the Tesla talk
too. Yes, me too. I kind of want to analyze a piece of that thing that you just said, because I've been wanting to bring this up for a while. Okay. In what other industry, and I've said this to you before, in what other industry does the mid-tier define the cutting edge? No other industry that I can find where you will find the mid-tier. Now, let me define what I'm talking about here to the rest of the folks listening to this. The mid-tier, okay? Let's say in the car culture, because we're using Tesla talk, right? You have Nissans, you have Toyotas, and you have Teslas, right? We'll call that, in that grand scheme, we'll call the Nissans the low end. We'll call the Toyota the mid-tier. I know that they're all the same because, there's more to it than that. And then we'll call the Tesla the high end, just for the frame of this specific conversation, right? In that conversation, where do you get the driverless car? Where do you get the car where you could just take a nap and the car just drives itself? You get that in the Tesla, right? Because they are the cutting edge. They are the high end of the frame, right? Same analogy to PC. Same analogy to gaming, okay? You have your consoles and you have your PCs, right? Except for this gen, which is so unique. This is why tech folks like me want to have this talk. Because until this specific Series X and PS5 gen, there have never been consoles that even remotely touch PC. Not even close. Like, your PC players are the upper echelon. Your console players are technically the heathens, the what do you call it? The Southwest riders. They don't get coach. They don't get first class because they're console players. You buy your $4.99 box and you enjoy it. While the PC players are spending that $4.99 on the GPU alone. Right now, you want to buy a good 3080, you're close to $1,000 just for the card, not for anything else, right? Slow-mo's in here going, peasants. Indeed.
Oh, Slow-mo, what's happening?
He's in here going, peasants.
Oh, boy.
But that's the definition of it, right? The high end define what the cutting edge is, right? And then even look at the phones. At some point, your Android $200 phone has 120 hertz displays, right?
Slow-mo, stop lying. Damn well.
So my question is, why and when did console players feel the need to then define the next gen? Don't get me wrong. Real quick, before you answer the question, don't get me wrong. In this generation, they can do that. I would say more. Well, okay, each of them can do that. PlayStation can do that because even though they use PCIe 4.0 and they have really screaming speeds on their SSDs, right? It is much faster than any PC SSD you can get today. That's true. That is fact, right? Just like services like what do you call it? Quick Resume and stuff like that are not available on PCs yet, right? Just like
I don't know. Somebody
speeds.
might press Alt Tab and tell you differently.
Just like the PCIe speeds are also coming up. So I would say halfway through this gen, all of those gains will be on PC as well. There's already a conversation about bringing them to PC now. But why is it? Think about that the console heathens, if you will, like me, because I love my console gaming, why do we get to define next gen when you can play Flight Sim from 1979 on the same PC that you can play Flight Sim 2021? That's like a monster. Same PC. There is no Gen Talk on there. There is no Steam. Like, you can play whatever you can as long as the hardware is there. Because I feel like the reason why I want to have this conversation is because I feel like because they get to define the gen, they think it gives them a sense of entitlement, and that's where the vitriolic back and forth goes. Why is it that they've been allowed to define the generation when they're playing on less than hardware?
Because the whole next gen idea that's console talk.
Yes.
Right. So,
but the games have been part of PCs forever.
No, I understand that, but PCs have always been x86, right?
And now our consoles too.
Yeah, now they are. So now they're in that same space. So really, going forward, the next gen was defined really by AMD and, I guess you can say NVIDIA as well on the PC side, but AMD's RDNA 2 is what defined the next gen, and that was across the board.
Exactly,
so it wasn't really console
here's my quick, Here's my no. Here's my quick analogy of that. Okay, good thing you brought that up. All right, they're talking about next gen. Look at PC, look at console talk. Next gen defined by ray tracing and this and that. PC people have been ray tracing for years, even on their quote-unquote old gen stuff. There are games that are on Xbox One that have ray tracing only on PC. So they've been in the quote-unquote next gen for about 4 or 5 years now. Now, let me again be clear for anybody who's listening to me and going, who is this heathen talking about PC master race? I love my PC. I also love my console. I have them all, okay? So I'm basically speaking out of both sides of my mouth because I enjoy both sides of the house. I just want to know, when did it be okay? Because I would think that the PC people define the generation, because no matter how good the hardware is on your console, the PC always, there's always a specific comparable spec on PC, but usually that's not the tip of the spear when the game releases. Take Atomic Heart, for instance. It's coming out very soon, okay? On consoles, that will be, like, now that the consoles have more resources than they ever have, they probably will be close to PC performance. Close. But even then, the ray tracing will be quarter resolution and all this just to keep the frame rate high, which is what consoles are about. No issue there. On the PC, Atomic Heart will be a monster, like high res. You'll be able to push it to 8K if you have the hardware that can define it. But somehow the console players get to call that next gen because they have ray trace. Honestly, all of that leads to the console war debate, I think, because they get to define the frame. Like, they get to be Southwesters talking about, well, my seat's better than your seat, even though you have those on the Concord just chilling with their feet up going, these little heathens. This is what's happening right now.
No, but again, I think that I think personally that the idea, to me, once we jumped into the x86 world on the console side, that was the beginning of the end of any generational talk.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I agree.
And right now, a generation is sort of specifically geared towards, we want to market some new hardware to sell to you, and we will make up these terms and tell you these are the most important things.
Yes.
And so
I don't necessarily hold it against, let's say, Xbox or PlayStation or any of those for defining their marketing terms as what they do. I guess my question is, why are us smart folks not going, come on now?
Well, speak for yourself when you're talking about smart. but
you see what I'm saying though? Like, Toyota doesn't tell you what's the next gen. Tesla tells you what's the next gen. Why is it that PlayStation and Xbox get to define the next gen here?
Because it's a console term. It is.
It's not though. It's not. It's a gaming term. It's a gaming term, not a console term.
Console gaming term. I'm telling you. Like you've
Because
never
PC
heard
option.
PC. Yeah, but PC people and Slow-Mo, you're in here. You can you can speak to this.
Speak on it, man. Yes.
Like PC people do not say they'll say, yeah, this is the new video card, but they're not saying this is a next gen experience that's gonna enable.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so let me pull it back. Let me pull it back. Maybe what I mean is because console generation talk has been so like out and out and my favorite term, full-throated. It's taken over. It's kind of bleeding into PCs. It's bleeding into that conversation. When in fact, I think folks like Slow-Mo who generally game on PCs more than anyone else, that's the reason why they should say, "Shut your mouths, the console master race," because they can define the general.
I think all of this concept is going to go away. I think we're going to get to a place where all games.
From a technical perspective, it should have gone away already. But I wonder when people will stop using it. I wonder when that is.
Can we just highlight Slow-Mo agreeing with me real quick? I appreciate that. Now, the thing is, I think that we are going to a place where none of this will matter. All games will be made from the rip with a minimum spec, and they will scale up across consoles. And as we move forward gradually, like your console is basically going to be just like getting a new video card. You can think of a PlayStation and an Xbox like getting a Steam box. And all Sony's games will get to a place where they're delivered day and date on PC. When that happens, who knows? Microsoft is already doing it. Nintendo is going to continue to do their own thing, right? As long as they can, right? But for the most part, in this conversation, I think that once you get away from that idea and you're just buying a new PlayStation or a new Xbox just so that you can get better visuals on games that will run, be supported in perpetuity. That's where all this is going.
Conversation. But see, then console warriors will find different narrative because because where we're going.
The argument
that's where we're going.
Well, and again, be clear, Microsoft may be sort of broadcasting that's what they're doing, but Sony is going to do the same thing. I think Sony.
No, of course, they're doing the same exact thing.
They're just using that
silence weaponizing thing.
They use silence surgically so that it helps them in their marketing because people run with that. And they believe that I don't know if they righteously believe this, but they believe that Sony is doing what they're doing because they care about gamers. They do not.
Which is absolutely ridiculous.
They care about
money.
Right. Which that's their job. Right.
Yes.
Right. Be clear, Sony is going to adopt this model that what do you call it's already on. And 100%. The reason Microsoft is doing it first is because they were in that third place position. So it's easier to make sweeping changes like that. You don't want to shit the money bed, right? And cannibalize the market that you're on top of, right? It's very hard to move make big moves when you're the leader. Right. So it's the same thing. Sony not wanting crossplay because they had the most to lose. Microsoft and Nintendo may want it because it helps them, because it says that people that are stuck buying the leader's platform because they want to play with their friends no longer have to do that. Right. Because if everything is crossplay, then I don't have to worry about what console my friends have. I can just buy what I want.
We're going straight tech talk in the chat. We have UWP conversations.
No. Bring that up. That's what I want. That's what I want to hear. Come on.
Well, before we go there, I want to put some conversation. Yeah, they're putting some good conversation in the chat. I want to real quick with Slow-Mo's statement that he said right here about watch them go to a semi cell phone model. 100%. That's happening. But they're not going to a cell phone model like Apple because they're not just defining it based on, this is your one device. Now, 2 years from now, this is your new one device. No, they're going in both sides. You're going to get the hardware, like you're going to get the next latest and greatest hardware here, but you're also going to get the literally plug-in device, Chromecast capable device also every 2-3 years that meets that minimum spec for them as well. They're kind of branching out in all paths and trying to.
I mean, if we really want to talk the tech stuff, right? I think that's ultimately where computing is going, where everything is going to become a thin client, right?
System as a service, yes. SaaS is the model of the future, yes.
And I think that the future of Windows even is not selling you a new PC, but saying, hey, your Office 365 subscription includes a virtual desktop. Right? When you go to work now, you log into a VDI. So who's to say
I don't use VDIs? This resources suck. But I hear you.
I hear you. You know what I'm saying, right?
I hear you,
so think about like any developed Pixel. Maybe you know about this. Code spaces. So one of the things, the benefits of Microsoft buying GitHub was they said that you could have any project and then literally spin up Azure. Inside on the AWS side, they call it EC2, but I don't know what they call it for Azure. But you could spin up an instance and have a development environment right there based off any GitHub project. And what is to say they can't just do that in a consumer-friendly way to say you one click and you have a PC that has these specs and it's based on what you need to do. Right? I think that's the future of Windows,
we're not quite there
and
yet.
that is ultimately the future of Xbox. And you know, maybe PlayStation one day. So
okay. So I hear what you're saying, Slow-Mo, as far as every 3 years. But honestly, I think they're even though they're not saying that, they keep saying we're going to make new hardware, and they are. I honestly think that while they're making new hardware, like Xbox, if I don't know if you spend any time on the xCloud right now. Most of the xCloud blades are now Series X blades. Like, I tested it out yesterday. You can play 120 frames per second on your phone if your screen can handle it. I have an Android phone with 120 hertz display. I was playing Halo on my Android phone at 120 hertz. I honestly think that the reason for the GDK is they want, like you're saying, they want to bridge the gap between the phones, the consoles, and all that. But it's not necessarily a play to keep you buying that plastic. It's to make sure that wherever the developer chooses to make the game, it works across the board. They're going from their old SDK. Well, what was their environment called again? I forget the name of the environment. But they're going to the new GDK, and that's the reason. Side note: that's the reason why a lot of their games right now aren't performing at the highest clip it can, because a lot of them are still stuck on the old development environment while this GDK is matured a bit. But I do see that at some point you will see like Kim Swift being hired here, for instance. They're not building it so that you have next gen games in the cloud. They're building it so that any Xbox game is a cloud. Every one of them. Because literally the SoC for Xbox is in the blades in the cloud.
Let me ask you a question. Just competition wise, right? Forget about the console war stuff, obviously. If the largest or fastest growing market aside from mobile is PC, right? And DX12 Ultimate it's the same set of tools across Xbox and PC.
Yes.
Will this in the future leave Sony and their tools at a disadvantage? So can we just obviously?
This is good tech talk. This is the debate I want to have. This is the thing. Yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, forget about Sony's
better than mine.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes.
What I'm saying,
this is fact. And
grown man talk.
That's right.
Does DX12 Ultimate is
what
Microsoft is hoping? Dark horse?
That is what they're hoping. They are hoping because they make the tools, right? Everyone talk about the tools. They make the tools. They make the open source tools. But what they can then do is they can put those tools in their competing product. So that way, much like before, much like how they did it on the Windows with this Windows 11 conversation they talked about. Oh, you bring your own marketplace. You can put your game in our store. You can put your app, not game. You can put your app in our store, and it'll cost you nothing. They're trying
They're still
to
charging for the
bring
game
people in. There is no hurdle to getting into that space now. Same thing on the gaming side. They're doing this to basically remove all barriers. That's what that's for. And in doing so, because they know that Sony is now at this, it's a very cyclical thing. Sony is now at that arrogant level where Microsoft also used to be when they were winning. It's always a cyclical thing. You succeed, you get arrogant, and then you make bad mistakes. Now I see Sony company is a very, they'll pay $70 because they need to, because the games are worth it that way. You know what I'm saying? They're at that place. So and the number one proof of that is when DX12 Ultimate was being talked about and these features were being announced and all that, Sony was like, nope, we're doing our own thing because we think we can and we have these features and they work great, which is fine. But as a multi-plat who uses DX12U, which is tied into Unreal Engine 5 and all of that, eventually, when you start multi-plat developing and profiling for your various systems, what do you have there? You'll have Series S, which conforms, Series X, which conforms, PC, which all conform to a specific framework.
Speaking of PC, right? We have to talk about Windows 11, right?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it.
And what, because Slow-Mo brought this up, what they're doing with the store model, right? That 12% to match Epic, right?
Yes.
Now, the thing is, will the improvements in the Windows 11 store entice PC gamers to step away from either Steam or Epic and purchase their games?
Xbox is trying to do. That's not what Xbox is trying to do. What they're trying to do is they don't want you to pick between your favorite launcher and theirs. They want your favorite launcher on theirs. That's what they're trying to do. And that's the reason why they're bringing in all this. Hey, you have an Android device, you have an Android app, your Android app can now run on Windows. All of them are going to run on Windows because they don't want you to have to choose. They have seen that when the choice comes up, the existing platform always wins. So they don't want you to have to make that choice.
Do you think they integrate Steam into the Windows Store?
They want to. 100% they want to. Why do you think they're working so hard? They got Adobe on the hook. They want Adobe to put their entire suite into the Windows Store, and they've agreed with Adobe it won't. And they already know that. Well, see, that's the thing. They want that. I don't think they will succeed, but they want that. And the reason why I don't think they will succeed is because even on although they did the great moves whereas they opened the floodgates and they took the cost away for apps, they didn't do that for games. They just lowered the price, right? They lowered the price, but they didn't take it away. And Steam has no reason, unless you give them a reason.
No, well, yes. Okay. I guess the thing
I suspect the Microsoft will probably sweeten the pot somewhere else to kind of get them in, because I know that they're in a very close relationship.
What I'm saying is, if they integrated Steam, it wouldn't be the thing where you have to pay them. That wouldn't count as it's only if you use our commerce engine, right? Exactly. So integrating Steam doesn't make them any money.
No. It does. It does, because you forget one point that I made a little while ago, and we forgot that. Their whole bring your own commerce engine and it costs free, that does not count in games. In games, it's still 15%. So even if you have your own commerce engine, if you're releasing a game on their store, it will still cost you. They'll still take 15%. Just like
if I download a mobile game from the Amazon Android store, do I have to pay Microsoft?
That's different. No.
Or does the developer have to pay for Microsoft?
That's a different conversation. You're talking about Steam games on this platform. Android is a different beast. They're talking specifically Steam games on the store. If you are trying to release a game on the Windows Store, even if you have your own engine, meaning Steam, if you try to bring the Steam store to the Windows Store, they'll let you do that. You still buy things through Steam like you always do, but it'll cost you 15%.
There's no way.
That's right. Exactly. So, if you are Adobe, though, who's not a game, and you bring your entire platform to the App Store, then you can have a free reign, and they'll let you do that. They're still holding a little bit of on the game.
I still don't understand what the benefit is, and this has turned into the Windows Circle podcast. But
we're answering the chat, but still we can still devolve. Yes,
what is the benefit to Microsoft here to bring other stores into the Windows Store?
That's an easy benefit. Easy benefit.
And if they're allowing people to use their own CDNs to deliver their apps, how do I as a user know that this is safe? Because this is the whole thing, like, we'll deliver this app to you, it's safe. Who's certifying these apps?
Well, hold on. You're making a mistake in assuming that just because they're bringing their own CDNs that they're not qualifying the store. It's not just an open floodgate that anyone, it's not the Android App Store. It's not a floodgate that anyone can, they are still approving it. There's still a process for getting it in there, all that. It's just, all they're saying is, like, initially, they wanted to get away from Win32 apps, right? So they dropped their own platform, right?
Right, but now they're starting back. They're allowing you to put the Win32 apps back.
It's because they saw that they, unlike others, and I have a reason, I have a thought about that. Other companies can get you to move where they want you to move. iOS can get developers to move to Swift because Apple has their way of getting people to move. Microsoft has never been good at, even though they built the building, they established the road, the framework. They've never been good at transitioning users to whatever they want, right? So they force people, just like they did with, oh, guess what? Now Xbox Live happens to just increase price because we've taken away the discounts, because they wanted people to move to Game Pass. They don't know how to do it right. So they've come to a place where they're not trying to do that anymore. They realize that X32 will be here to stay. People don't like UWP. People like this, people like that. So if we want to be what we used to be, which is the OS that everyone uses, the OS that everyone uses, then we must support everything. Because guess what? In the computing world we live in today, Chromebooks are starting to look very interesting. iPads start to service a lot of people. The regular computing that everyone used to do in the 90s all the way, they don't need all that power anymore.
You know what?
Laptops aren't the default.
A super interesting conversation I was having, and just one other thing, just to keep it gaming related, and I'll come to that conversation I was having. What I meant about how this will help, and they're talking about this in chat right now, Pixel and Slow-Mo.
Yeah,
I think them a lot, because what you submit to a Steam, if you're building a game and you put it in Steam, it's Win32, correct?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Right.
Yes,
and now they're allowing Win32, so that will allow people to do more things, mods, all those other things.
But exactly, because the UWP needed mod support, and they didn't want to add it in there because it made it unsafe, supposedly.
Right. So now that they're allowing Win32 apps, does that just by default make the Windows Store better?
Yes, it does.
And will that make people want to release their apps there, and will it entice users to just go and download from there? It's all about
the chicken and the egg, man. It's all about the chicken and the egg, because it will make the store better. Because let's be absolutely clear here, okay? Let's have a different conversation from technology versus people. From a technology perspective, UWP was in its infancy, but it was a better framework. It was better than X32. It was. Why?
Yeah,
because let me finish. The reason why it was better is because, like Mac, right? They were sick and tired of always worrying about DLLs and this and that and all that. You know, all that stuff has always been dogging Microsoft, right? Whereas Macs can literally have an app be one instance, right? This icon is the whole app. You open it, you're in Chrome, but then you take it away and it's gone. Whereas Windows had all these tentacle BSs because of X32, right? So UWP was supposed to backify Windows. So it's all one icon, great. But it was in its infancy. They had not, X32 is mature. You can do so much more with it. But they were like, we'll just release it now, and then we'll add all those maturities later. And of course, developers hated that from jump. So whether technology-wise it was good or not, it wasn't mature enough to have it compete against Win32.
Well,
now we're in a world where X32 ain't going nowhere. Developers have made their choice. So Microsoft now has Max to throw away the new good thing that was gonna help everybody, and then go revert back to X32 because that's what the environment, the people want. That's what they're doing.
So multiple things on that note, right?
Yeah.
With UWP, right? You cannot say that I'm going to try like that. To me, UWP was an exercise in hubris, right? It was Microsoft saying that no one is developing apps. And tell me the greatest apps that were developed in the last decade, biggest apps made a name for themselves that were on PC.
But PC is a mature environment. Like, we're not talking about the new hotness. But PC is not the new hotness.
People
mobile is the new hotness.
All the new hotness and all the biggest apps
cannot
that
handle
were
X32.
created. Sure. But what I'm saying is all the new development is happening on other platforms. So you cannot tell the people that are still developing on your platform that have built entire careers on learning this, that they have to go do something else.
Well, but
right?
Don't you get it? They recognize that the people that were on their platform was not sustainable. So they basically dissed them in favor of the other platforms because the other platforms had a lot more developers. They knew they would alienate their own base, but their own base is not enough to keep the store alive. So screw them, basically, is what their thoughts were.
And how did that work out for them?
Not so well. So now,
you know why? But the reason
what are they doing now? They're bringing it all in.
Hold on a second. The reason why it didn't work for them, because you are trying to bring in developers that are specifically developing for platforms that are not yours, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the hot platform right now, so you can't dictate to developers what they are going to do, right? Apple can do that.
Well, no.
Google
but see,
can,
I guess
Google can do that.
This is a non-technical argument, and I think the technical frame changes a little bit of the equation there. The reason why they actually changed the UWP to entice them, because that's how Macs operate now. They thought that if they did what Macs do now, it would bring those developers in.
Microsoft is not Apple. Microsoft has a much larger base
they want to try
uses.
They want to try and entice just like Apple does.
You cannot straddle both sides of that coin.
Of course.
Right?
And
you are either going to be
right. They have learned that.
You are either going to be the OS that is not locked down and allows people to do what they want and develop the way they want, whether they want to use the new stuff or not. But you cannot make those hard cutoffs when you support 86% of the market. You have realized you can't do that.
Why do you think Windows 10 still has a control panel that looks like Windows 95? Because they recognize they cannot cut people off at the knees. They recognize that.
So yeah, and so but this is my point. You can't do that. And so everything they do that people like is supporting the stuff that they wanted to get rid of.
Yes.
Windows 10 was an apology for Windows 8.
For Windows 8, exactly. Yes.
So when the Windows 11 store is an apology for the Windows 10 and Windows 8 store.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
and remember when those stores were established, there were different leaders making those decisions. Now, basically, it's like a bunch of underlings, and you can look at this in Microsoft, both on the gaming side and on the Windows side. A bunch of underlings were there when decisions were being made badly. And those underlings are now leaders, and they're reverting all those underling decisions, those decisions from the past.
Which the inmates are running the building.
That's right. Which tells you back in the day when Donnie was making those decisions, you had Illy Philly in the back going, "This dude is screwing us," and eventually he had to go and undo it. Same side on Windows. When those Windows decisions were being made, we're moving them because they need to move. A lot of folks were like, "Nah, that's not the hotness." And the dude that was the head of, Panos Panay, who's the head of hardware at the time.
I met him twice.
Oh, he's a great, passionate dude. I met him once.
Very intense
dude. I like him. Yes, he was sitting back, and obviously he won't speak on it, but you can tell that they were not a fan of where these was going.
You're talking about the Steven Stanofsky era.
Exactly. Now those underlings are now the leaders, and what are they doing? They're reverting everything that was made before. So when people say this idea of, well, Microsoft did this, let's get back to the point of the topic at hand. The name is the same, but there are different people there now. They're doing different things now. Just like going back to the gaming space, I know you and I have been having this conversation about the first blood argument, right? Remember that whole first blood argument? It's because back then, the Microsoft of that day was basically the arrogant Sony of today. And those folks have now they've been kicking rocks, and now there's a new environment in place.
Okay,
yes, it's the same name, but the people are different. They have a different mindset.
Let's talk about First Blood just for a little bit, because and so the thing with that.
And I want the people in the chat to please weigh in. Let me know what you think, because when he brought this to my attention, I was like, seriously, this is a thing? But yes, continue.
So there's this argument going around.
Define what the First Blood argument is.
Right. So a lot of people say, like, because if you're in the Xbox community, you kind of feel like PlayStation guys are sore winners, right? You feel like any little thing they will rub in your face as an Xbox fan. But then you talk to the guys on the Sony side and they say, no, we're just giving Xbox, right? We're just giving them a taste of their own medicine. They were talking about specs. And so we are throwing that back in their face. Where's your teraflops now? You said that the PlayStation. Hold on. They say you said the PlayStation couldn't do 4K. You said that there would be this frame rate advantage, and we're not seeing it. So all of this crap you were talking before the launch of the consoles, now here you go.
But you're talking about just the launch of the console.
Yeah.
Go further back.
But then they'll say, and then we'll say sales don't matter and Metacritic doesn't matter on the Xbox side. And they'll say you're only saying that because you don't have sales or Metacritic scores, which I would argue that is not the case. If you look at Ori and Flight Sim,
if you look at
and Halo and Gears,
usually they beat them or they're the same, but people don't talk about that. But continue.
Right. It's just that there are have been more recently, and there's been a higher number. But if you look at first party output,
it's always pretty comparable. Even the console sales that people keep talking about, it's Europe and the other countries that blow Sony away. Usually in America, they're very competitive. They're very neck and neck. It's never 2-1 like that. But people don't talk about that.
But anyway, they'll say if we take it back, you guys cared about sales and Metacritic during the 360 days. So you guys started this, and we're just finishing it. Okay. Right. Okay. So that is that argument, but I always say, like, first of all,
don't you think that argument is a little bit disingenuous?
I'm coming to that, right?
Please, go ahead.
Because I will argue, firstly, that I was there during the counting blades of grass in the early days of the Xbox One, right? And there are people that are still hurt by that now. And if you take it, 1080p makes you a better gamer, right? Mm-hmm. This is how you trade games, right? We were there for all of that. And this is the thing that a lot of people on the Xbox side are responding to. This is that when you say the line that Xbox has no games, even though a lot of people were playing games all generation, all those things, the Xbox guys feel like they're responding to the complaints of the PlayStation guys, but then the PlayStation guys say they're responding to the Xbox guys. Yeah. And so my argument is, if you are contributing to it today, you are part of the problem. You are not doing the Lord's work, so to speak, because whatever point you go back to, I can take you back to a further
one. That's right.
So even if we want to talk about, Xbox guys started with the graphics argument, right? The thing is, you can go back to even before the PlayStation, right? A lot of people remember when Sony came into the market, buying up studios. They had all this money, more money than Sega and Nintendo at the time, and they bullied their way into the industry. And a lot of people, listen, Sega made a lot of mistakes, but a lot of people, were you on the internet a lot, Pixel? No, but
I do recall it. I do recall it. But folks were too busy with the 3 red rings of death to worry about it at that time. You know.
Yeah, but so a lot of people will go back and say that they sort of logically transitioned to the Xbox from being Sega fans their whole life, right? And they will say that they're just responding to what with the Xbox to what Sony did to Sega and push them out of the market. And then it's this never-ending cycle, right? So you're not justified, right? And that's really the problem. Read Slow-Mo's comment for a second.
Yeah. I want to address Slow-Mo's comment because I appreciate it and I want to push him on something. So PlayStation, Xbox and PlayStation fans are two sides of the same coin. They contradict themselves in the same ways. They make the same excuses on the other side makes and justifies their logic. You know, I agree with that. I do. I do have one piece of it that I will push on you, though. I'll push back on you a little bit when it comes to that. What I've seen, and I have been gaming all my life, but I haven't been gaming all my life in America. So that whole console war thing, I didn't notice until I moved to the States, and it became this whole bit.
Sega started it. Be clear.
Sega
Look at their commercials.
Sega does with Nintendo.
No, but they had the Super Nintendo in their commercials. They had Sonic making fun. Anyway, go ahead.
The only part I'll push against Lomo a little bit on that is it's kind of like that debate that I hear, and we've had this analogy already, versus in politics where because there's one side and then there's another side, everyone quickly assumes that if you're having a conversation, you have to be on one or the other. I have seen many instances where folks speak facts. You know, whether today's facts go against Xbox or today's facts go against PlayStation, there are those who can just speak facts. I've seen that. But for some reason, because of the vitriolic console war nature of it, they get like pushed to one side or another illegitimately, even though that's not where they are. You know what I'm saying?
I think it is also overly simplistic to think that everyone must be a neutral to be taken seriously, right?
Sure.
If you are arguing any point in good faith, whatever side you come at it from, you should still be able to acknowledge facts and come to a place where you can learn in any conversation. So you can be a PlayStation guy and criticize something about Xbox. It doesn't mean you're being disingenuous. It doesn't mean you're being disingenuous. You can prefer Xbox for whatever reasons that you have that you prefer that ecosystem, and you can critique PlayStation.
That's right.
And it doesn't mean you're being disingenuous. We like to oversimplify all these things.
That's right.
And say, I can't listen to you because you have a preference. And I think that's bullshit.
Quick example of me being an Xbox guy and criticizing PlayStation. I love my Xbox. Remote play needs to be better on PlayStation because I play it in my office all the time. I cannot sit in my living room to play my PlayStation. They have a great remote play app, better than Xbox. But it's very difficult to get working sometimes. Doesn't mean that I hate on them for it. I want to play it more. It's just they need to figure out a way where if I remote play with this thing, this touch, and I'm dropping stuff. This touch button right here in the middle stops working, and a lot of games need it. So it makes those games unplayable. That's an argument that folks can be making. It doesn't automatically mean that the Xbox guy said this, so automatically he must be hating on it. It's a very simplistic, childish argument that folks keep making, and the childish arguments can continue to be made, right? Because the internet's the internet. I just feel like there should be tiers of this argument, and the older you get, the more nuanced it should be. And I'm not seeing the nuance in the age, and that's bothersome to me. I feel like the adults in the room should be having adult conversation and leave the "my plastic is better than yours" to the kids who are also out there doing that. You know what I'm saying? I do agree with you, Slow-Mo, that narrative, because of that narrative, because of they got a W, so we now have to counteract it with our own narrative. So because of that, folks like skew things left and right just to work within the frames that works for them. I hear that, but still,
to me, it kind of reeks of insecurity.
Yeah, desperation.
Right. So if I cannot, like, if I'll put it like this: if I'm confident in what I'm doing, I don't care what you're doing.
What you're doing, yeah. If I think I look good, you can think I'm like a clown. I don't care.
Right?
Yeah.
So go ahead and be great. It's only when you're in this position of losing, right? And then anytime you see a potential victory on the other side, you want to downplay it. I can be great and tell you to go ahead and be great. It's not going to stop me from being great, right? Yes. So you can acknowledge where there's a victory on the other side, or where the competition is better in this instance.
That's right. That's right.
If you still believe in what you're saying and you're still confident in your investments and your decisions,
it shouldn't matter
what difference should that make to you?
That's right. 100%. And I hear you, Slow-Mo. It's more about the fanboys, and there's a difference between them and regular fans. I will go with you on that. It's just, unfortunately, the fanboy conversations tends to drown out the normal, like these debates that we like to have. I enjoy them, but the fanboy convos make it hard to have the normal conversations on Twitter. We'll just say.
But here, and I think another problem. My problem is not the stands, because the stands are always going to stand.
Right? That's right.
It's going to be a lot of fitteds out there, right? It's going to be a lot of Yankee fitteds out there, if you catch my drift, right?
Indeed.
That's not a problem to me. What I guess what grinds my gears, to quote Peter Griffin, it are the people that don't realize they're doing.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
The people, like, I get it. I understand the grifter economy, and to me that makes sense, right?
What doesn't make sense is the normal folks falling into these traps over and over and over again, and not seeing that they're falling into the trap over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and they purport to be the normals. That's the frame of this whole thing for me. Exactly. Because the stands are going to stand. They may even do it maliciously. They know they're doing it, but they're like, F it, I'm just going to go on the net and cause some static. That's fine. But then there are the normals.
I can actually appreciate that.
You can just appreciate Jerry Springering. I'm going to go get up in the morning and go start some shit.
Because I appreciate the people who do it well, and then it allows me to sharpen my sword, right? Because I only jump into debates.
He resembles that remark, man. Pump your brakes. Obviously, current folks are exempt from these comments, clearly.
But I like to, like I say, I like to strengthen my ideas you
like to sharpen your sword against the opposition. I get you.
Right.
I get you.
But so I will go and specifically engage with someone who may be a grifter, or I believe to be a grifter, just to sharpen my argument.
I've seen you do it. I've seen you do it. Yes.
Right.
Indeed.
Now, and if I engage with you, it's because I think you're smart enough to be worth my time. It is not because I think your argument has merit. And it's just because I'm like, all right, I got you. That was sharp. How about this curveball?
So before we hit the 2-hour mark, let's move it along. Still in the same conversation, but I kind of want to add different perspectives to it. Okay. So besides that, right, we've established, yes, there's back and forth on both sides, and in many cases, both sides can, as Slow-Mo has aptly said, both sides can have that. It can seem like they're both sides of the same coin and all of that, right? I guess where I want to take this next is, it seems like because of these back and forth tug of war situations going on, it seems like when moves are being made that genuinely benefit you, folks aren't taking that the way it should be taken. They're framing it. They're first framing it. They're analyzing it based on where they sit in their console before they decide.
Let me take that to another level. When moves are made that are specifically hurting you, but you cheer them on.
You cheer them on because they're your side that's doing it. Yes,
that is and I'm talking about people that will happily spend more money for less.
Yep.
Or people that will happily.
And you're right on that. And real quick, hold on to your thought. This is where I push back on you, Slow-Mo, if you're still in the chat. The idea that there are two sides of the same coin, when Xbox started raising prices, everyone, both PlayStation and Xbox sides, got very much together for a very unique small moment and went, yo, this is messed up. We should all let them know that. And they did. And that stinks. On the PlayStation side, though,
don't take it to the $70. Don't take it to the $70 game part.
I'm not taking it to the $70 game part because that's a different conversation.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is all the other, like, as I said this to you, $70. Okay, we'll have a different conversation. How about the game saves? To this day, it's still a huge, ridiculous issue, and nobody on the PlayStation side, who none of the people who would be listened to want to make a case out of it, because if they make a case out of it, it seems like now we're talking bad about our side. It shouldn't be that way, because still to this day, if I want to play Final Fantasy Remake and I switch from the PS4 version to the PS5 version, I was this close to losing my slave altogether. Lord Cognito from the Iron Lords famously talked about the conversation where he loves, with capital L, Ghost of Tsushima. He lost his save when he was like 99% away from platinum. Why? Because nobody is taking PlayStation to task for their horrible, horrible infrastructure. That's what I'm talking about. When we have a problem, you need to speak on it. Because even if you're a fan of it and you want it to be better, you have to speak on it and let them know that it's bad so that it gets better. Like you're talking about now. They will cut their nose to spite their face just because, hey, look, our side's better. Well, that is amazing to me. I want to understand that. I wish we had somebody on this call, on this chat, who was full-throated on that side, but also intelligent to really define that for me so I can understand.
I like how you said also intelligent.
Although you have to be, because how is it that you can take the exact same game, and there's a free version and there's a paid version, and you somehow can justify paying $75, $80, right, and somehow make the other side. You could choose to do that, right? Choices are there to be made. Anyone can choose it. Like what do you call it? Master Chief Collection is free on Game Pass, and it'll always be because this is Microsoft's product. But I still have a copy. I have many copies. Halo Infinite will be free forever on Game Pass, but I will buy a copy because I choose to do that. That's not the problem. My problem isn't choice.
Oh, wait,
my
hold
problem
on.
is.
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm going to address slow-mo in a second. Yeah. My problem isn't choice. My problem is not only do you choose your choice, but then you look at the other person making the other choice and go, yeah, you suck. Or yeah, you're bad because you're making that choice. It's so intellectually bankrupt to me. I don't know.
A big thing to me, just before we go to Slow-Mo's comment, is like
that's insane.
The one of the bigger things for me is like, where is the SSD expansion for the PlayStation? Right? I feel like that's a legitimate thing to say. A legitimate thing, yeah. Where we are 7 months out and I
want all the PlayStation, like hardcore PlayStation diehards, to like spam in the PlayStation chat going, hey, with all due respect, we've been waiting for this. Where is it? That to me is a good move. Not to be all, well, ours is better than yours. Like, then your side gets better because then they have to actually address your problem. I don't get it. I just it's different.
But on so again, for the Xbox side of things, right? I think that like everyone that gave, let's say, Ratchet and Clank shit when they thought, or Horizon when they thought it was going to be 30 frames a second.
Yep.
Right. And then they saw Forza and they were like, I don't care. It looks good.
Yep.
Right. You can't. I understand that people grow over time, but you can't grow over time in like 3 weeks. If you said during the Xbox One generation that these things matter, these graphical things matter, or whatever, I will give you a pass because that was years ago and you've grown up now. You can't say Horizon is not good because. Oh man.
See,
he said the SSD is like Dr. Dre's the detox.
Indeed.
So
no, but this is a problem, and I the reason why you can tell there's frustration in me when I say this is because I love having these conversations. I love having these conversations, and I love having conversations with people that, by and large, I respect. I trust. I would, I love having this back and forth with folks online about it. Because we can really get to a really interesting place when we back and forth. But that's only if you stay genuine. And a lot of people don't do that.
Another very big thing for me is people are mad because games are being made to be more accessible.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is so ridiculous.
In what way does it
one second.
In what way does it benefit you as an
somebody
individual?
Else doesn't get to play it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now there's gonna be that no.
Okay, so in what way does it benefit you for PlayStation to keep their games off of the PC?
Yeah, that's a good question, isn't
it? How is that changing your gaming experience in any way? And how does it in any way devalue a Microsoft game? Right? If any company says that they are going to gear their content around
in a specific frame. Let me devil's advocate that for you. Even though, let's be clear, I think
Lucy.
I think it's a very stupid argument, but I will devil's advocate for it. Okay, there are two business models here. Okay, there's the existing business model that we've known forever in console. That's the business model that everyone knows. You buy my plastic, I charge you for games. That's what that business model is. Always been that business model. It'll continue to be that business model, right? And in that world, the minute that game becomes available elsewhere, that piece of plastic becomes less valuable because you can play that game elsewhere. So now you don't have a reason to buy that piece of plastic, right? I get that argument. It's a stupid argument, but I get it, right? Then there's the different business model that Microsoft is now engaging in, which is to go, this piece of plastic is not the business model. It's the gateway, right? As Slow-Mo has pointed out and gotten shit for on the internet, Game Pass is the platform, right? Now, to them, Game Pass is a platform. And since Game Pass is the platform, what does that do? What it does is it makes whatever gateway you use to get into Game Pass less valuable, right? Because it's Game Pass. You want to get in through your TV? Go for it. You want to get in through your console? Go for it. And each of them has their pluses and minuses to them. You play on your PC, you'll have to deal with you play on your console, there might be less frame rates, it might be a little medium to high quality. You play on PC, it's the tip of the spear, it's the best you can get. You play on a Chromecast, and it's also differences there. But it's while each of them come with their conveniences and their detriments, they also are there. They're also there to help you get into the game, their platform. Hey, thank you for being here, Slow-Mo. We appreciate you, man. So, in my opinion, that's the reason why folks are so big. That's why folks are so big on, oh, this sucks because now it's on Xbox, or oh, it sucks because now it's on PC, because they live in the world where the old business model is what matters to them, and they love their plastic, right? So people are scared of that Dreamcast world where their plastic all of a sudden becomes less valuable, and then they don't make it. At least that's what I think, right?
Yeah,
I think folks are scared of getting to a world where their plastic is not so valuable. So then all of a sudden they live in a world where Starfield doesn't come to their plastic. Oh my God, right? That's the world they're afraid of. And because of that, how could you do that? Even though the new business model makes that old business model null and void, it doesn't matter because it's a gateway to get to.
Do me a favor. Right? Do me a favor.
If you live in that world, it's all good.
Do me a favor. Turn off your camera for a second, because if you're looking at the stream, I feel like you're getting real pixelated.
Yeah, the stream.
Something's weird's going on.
I see that.
And I got gigabit. I think you do too.
StreamYard is a problem.
Okay,
and
but
so
anyway,
Yes. So I think StreamYard is a bit of an issue. Yes.
I think
yeah, StreamYard is having a problem.
The point is, like, these people, because okay, just back to the accessibility thing. If you are telling me that all my saves are in the crowd, so I have cross progression, right? And I can take any game and I can play it in what I can pick it up on my PC when I'm home. Or well, not when I'm home. I'm always home.
Yep.
But like when I'm in the living room or the bedroom, right? When I go to my when I'm on my when I'm
picking up on
in my
phone.
office, right? When I'm in my office, I can just run it on the gaming PC, right? I can go back to my living room, pick up where I left off, and then, like you said, pick it up on your phone or whatever it is, or play in a browser on a laptop when you're traveling, however that is. How? Because then what the center is not any given box, right? And I think that everyone making these arguments we're all adults, right? So as an adult, can we understand that it is a good thing, not a bad thing, a good thing that that you as the player are the center of that argument, right? Of that system. So the game is what matters, not so much where you're playing it. Right now, for business reasons, but you see, for business reasons,
exactly.
It is
but you see
confined to an ecosystem, right? So I'm not making the argument that exclusives don't matter, because they do, based on what ecosystem you decide to jump into. But if we're saying that this game is what is important and where I play it doesn't matter, if you spin that in a bad way just because your side is not as far along on that journey to getting there, what is the problem? Because the only initial reason to buy a console is to experience the content on that console, right? So content is right. Content
which is the reason for that OG business model.
Right. So now that we live in this x86 cloud world, none of that matters. None of it matters. If you want to play and you want to deal with cheaters and you want to deal with all of the,
you're right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying, if you want to deal with.
We're a bit of delay. I can tell there's a bit of a delay. Something's going on in the stream.
All right, turn your camera back on.
There's slowness. So yeah.
Turn your camera back on.
Okay, it's still looking okay. I'm not seeing any kind of degradation. So and it's degradation again. It's degrading again.
So
look, I hear what you're saying.
Go ahead.
I hear what you're saying. My only problem with that is, that is a business case, and business cases are there to be made. My problem is, why is it that folks are making the business case a fact? It's just a business case. You can keep that business case. That's what Microsoft does. That's what Sony does. But that doesn't have to be your argument. You don't have to be their spokesperson, right? You don't have to use their talking.
You don't have to be the unpaid marketing intern.
Factual. That's right. See, I have no issue with Sony and Microsoft doing that, because that's their business. That's their job. They're there to make money. What is your reason, normal, average Joe user, for using their arguments against yourself? It's ridiculous. You should be counteracting that narrative, because you should be recognizing that even if Microsoft is so consumer friendly, they're doing that for one purpose and one purpose alone: to separate you from your ducks, right? Sony thinks they can do that in in an aggressive and possibly we don't care about you kind of way, because you'll still deal, right? Whereas Microsoft thinks they can do that in a pro-consumer way. Either way, either method is still a business case. They're trying to separate you from your ducats. My question is, why is it that in the world we live in, where there are adults and intelligence, why is it that those who do it in a respectful way get the same level of vitriol or get more vitriol than those who do it in an aggressive kind of, disrespectful way. Those that lie to you to get you to buy a console don't get shitted on, but those that want to keep you in the ecosystem, they do. Makes no sense.
Well, it
makes
depends on
no sense. And you would think if this happened flip side, meaning if Sony was the underdog and Xbox was the beast in the room, if you will, would the arguments be the same, or would folks be like, well, Sony's doing it, so it must be good? That's where I am, and it looks like it seems like the entrenched interests are all on Sony's side, so that keeps
again. But I think this all comes back to brand loyalty and trust, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
If Sony has delivered what they've delivered, so this is also weird, right? Because I say that, but then everybody was high off of the 360 generation, and I feel like that there was like a kind of a hit job done on the Xbox One. In that, if games are all that mattered,
they themselves also like smacked themselves. They also screwed themselves up.
I don't disagree with that, but I'm just saying, like, there were a lot of things.
Bring their A game,
right? So to me, so take that part of it aside, that Xbox One launch time frame, because the reason I say that is, like, if we say games are what matter, then we can't, like, it's inarguable that even with all the bad PR stuff, they had better games, right? But games alone didn't save them, right? But I think that everything is based on.
I mean, there's an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made that if they had the level of games then that they do now, that narrative might have counteracted. They had good games then, but it wasn't hot and heavy. It wasn't one after another after another. It was a game which was good, and then another one later which was good, and then another one later which was good. All the while, the competitor was hit after hit after hit. They were like one to their three,
not at the beginning.
To their three. Sure. When it started climbing, then it became that.
But again, just back to what you're talking about, I think that people believe right now, because Sony has delivered on what matters, the content, people believe that they are doing everything they're doing for a reason, right? And so once this is my opinion, once Xbox begins to deliver at a consistent clip, when they make moves, people aren't going to question it. You're not going to have 1,001 questions like, oh, they got to make their money back, or, oh, they don't know what they're doing, or, oh, will this be good?
So you're back on
someplace.
You're back on they have a genuine concern, and once Xbox proves themselves, that concern will go away. That's where you are.
I think you can't even pretend at a certain point, right? And we have not reached that point yet. I've seen people say after they watch the amazing 9.5 best Xbox E3 in over a decade, maybe ever, they still said, not that, again, this is disingenuous, but they said Xbox still has no games. Why did they say that?
Potential.
Because they said, can you play any of the games you saw at those show right now?
Yes.
But the ones you care about. So the point is,
what you care about is always an opinion. It's always your thought versus mine. And what I care about might be different than
what I'm saying is, you can't play Forza or Halo or Avowed or Hellblade or any of those things.
Sure, but I was excited as hell about Pirates, and I could play that now.
Yeah, but at the time during the show, you couldn't play. So my point is,
but then again, like, you can never do that with anything.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
The only point that I'm making is, once Halo hits, right, the way I think it's going to hit. Once Forza drops the way it always drops, and it hits. Once these big, even more announcements start to come out,
you do realize that the narrative was Halo, Forza, Gears. Even when those were all releasing at a good clip, that was the narrative.
when will that change? The funny thing there is, like, you'll hear Halo, Forza, Gears, and then say I like PlayStation because of God of War and Last of Us, and what do you call it?
Exactly. So that's
that's
the
not what
key
we're here
of
to
the
talk about
idea
today.
of a disingenuous argument.
So, but again, the point that I'm making is Xbox has to prove, not to me, I'm already converted, right?
Or those are on the fence. They have to prove that they are there to be trusted.
Right. And once they do that and they deliver hit after hit after hit, when they say we're making a sweeping change, everybody's just going to move along and say, I trust them.
Okay.
And that's until they do that.
So again,
still going to see this.
So again, as has been said, so again, you're implying that these guys are those who have a genuine beef, those who have beef with all of this are most of them are genuine. And when Microsoft starts, when the potential turns into an onslaught of games, there will be no denying, and at that point, the narrative will change. That's what you're thinking.
Yes, and I have always said the media likes a winner. It's not that they prefer PlayStation; they prefer a winner, and they will turn on Sony the same way they did on the PS3 generation as soon as these things start coming out.
PlayStation. It didn't turn on PlayStation. It was just like PlayStation themselves were having issues. Like, a game would come out and it would be bad because they were using the cell processor or whatever, and it would like literally be bad. You have no choice but to say, "Hey, this is bad." Or otherwise,
this is what I'm saying.
Credentials. You know what I'm saying? Like
they have to. They
were trying to
do something.
They had no choice.
That is undeniable, is what I'm saying. You get it?
Okay. I hear you. Okay, so
all right.
So let's transition.
That's all I got.
Let's head towards the end of this, okay? Because no, I hear you. It's a conversation that I suspect we will have multiple times. And for the audience watching, that there was conversation to potentially bring on someone that would speak to on the other side of the house. We're still working on that, and that would possibly come soon, if not sooner, if not later. But you'll hear from us. We want to keep having this conversation because we don't want it to be as one-sided as it is. Mm-hmm. So I guess we will revisit this conversation one more time as we get more guests that have different opinions on the matter. Because as much as we try to differentiate ourselves, I think myself and Everborn Saga are on the same page when it comes to this stuff. So for now, we will table this argument. But you know what? Before we call it for the week and go off into the sunset until next week, let's ease off, because we've been real talking all this time up until now. But before we go, what has been keeping you busy this week? What games have you been playing?
I finished
what's going
Ratchet
on in the gaming
Clank
space?
Rift Apart, and I'm getting into A Pirate's Life, Sea of Thieves. I cannot tell you how satisfying it is to get on the open seas and let down your sail. You know what I'm saying? And just sail to some island.
Are you playing multiplayer or are you playing by yourself?
Absolutely not playing. I don't want to see people. I just want to see the
all by yourself.
I'm playing all by. I'm trying to get my daughter to play with me.
Oh, cool. Okay. I've been doing similar.
She has not agreed yet.
Okay. Well, you're trying to do it. You're trying to put it into the universe.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you finished. And by the way, quick review of Ratchet and Clank. Quick review.
I think
will it be in the Game of the Year conversation when we're done?
Real talk, I don't think it should be. I think that the 88 to 90 score was right. I think it's about
it's great. It looks good and it plays
right about a 9. I have not played State of Decay, any of them.
I have. I dig State of Decay. I had to wait for the Juggernaut edition to fix a few of the weird bugs and stuff. But every time State of Decay comes out, it's always about potential. Oh, this is the time, right? The last State of Decay was, this was just a small budget. They're going to get better. And then Microsoft bought them and they released part 2, but they were building part 2 before Microsoft bought them. So again, it's like, potential. I'm waiting for a State of Decay 3 to really
interested to see what they're going to do with the graphics.
Now they have full Microsoft backing.
And how deep the story will go. But
continue.
So I don't.
I'll check it out.
I put out a tweet a couple of weeks ago, and everybody laughed at me. Yeah. What has a better chance at Game of the Year, Psychonauts 2, or what do you call it? And I'm feeling real good about Psychonauts 2 right now.
So I laughed at you not because of the reason why others were laughing at you. I'm laughing at you because it's a Microsoft game.
I don't believe that. I think they can get nominated.
We will revisit this once it's said and done.
At the very least, it's going to get nominated in the platform category.
I want to be wrong. And you know what? If they do get nominated, that may not even convince me. I want the coalition to get nominated. I want someone that's fully Microsoft.
Do something different.
Screw the coalition. I want someone that
Double Fine is fully Microsoft.
No, they're not. See, they have been longer outside of Microsoft than they have been in. So this is me being the counteractive.
Who is cutting the check? That's what I want to know. Who cutting the check?
Let me counter. This is the PlayStation fanboy argument that you will hear when they are nominated. When they are nominated, or if they win, this is the exact argument you will hear. Just like
they're going to nominate the PlayStation version.
Just like Xbox. No, they won't, because the PlayStation version PS4. Oh, Xbox won E3. Yeah, but that's because PlayStation wasn't there. This is the argument you will hear if Psychonauts gets nominated. I don't agree with it, but I'm telling you, that's why I laughed at your tweet. Not because I don't think it's worthy, but because I think it takes more than a great product. The initiative, exactly.
Yeah,
if the initiative
in 2025.
See, that's the problem. And even then, I won't be convinced, because by then, all the other things that Microsoft is doing will have had an effect by then. By then, Game Pass 2025, Game Pass will have 50 billion subscribers. You will not be able to deny it. What I want is next year, 2021, 2022, right? 2022, this calendar year, this time, I want an Xbox game, not Double Fine, because there are people in the game space today that don't know that Double Fine was bought by Microsoft, because it's not a thing.
If that's the case, then you can't count Starfield, because that's not really Xbox.
Exactly.
No,
That's
yes,
exactly
you
my
can
point.
count it.
Yes, you can.
What are you talking about?
Talking about the narrative. And the only way to counteract that narrative is if an OG Xbox studio gets a nomination.
Disagree.
Even Ori, who wasn't an OG Xbox, which 100% deserved at least a nomination, didn't get
Big Bad Mo, I think they're going to strategically release Halo after the Game of the Year cutoff, so they don't have to deal with that conversation.
Exactly, because they know
that's what I would
even
do.
if it's good, guess what? See, that's the thing. Whenever whenever Metacritic looks bad for Xbox, people go, yeah, so you can exactly. See, but they count Spider-Man. Why? Because Insomniac has always worked with PlayStation. They've had a relationship forever. Nobody knows that they made more games for Oculus Quest than they have PlayStation, but okay.
The point is, back to Ratchet and Clank.
Yes.
I think that at a lot of times the game is beautiful, but I can see where they hid the scenes.
Yeah,
and
I see it too.
All of that, what we thought that you would be able to teleport
and
anywhere,
there's aggressive resolution back and forth, and that was my what you just said there. That was my number one point. When that trailer first revealed, and everybody was like, this, and it's from Tech Talk from me here. When this is the next gen, this is what defines it. I'm like, guys, pump your brakes. Even an Insomniac developer said exactly the same thing. Only crazy teleportations are in cutscenes. That's only place where you'll find them. Any of the real teleportations will be
in the set pieces. You mean
in the set pieces? Yeah, in the cutscenes, basically in the set pieces. You can't control them. You can't be on World 1 and then zip to World 2 just in the teleportation. No, you got to get in the ship, and then you got to fly there, and there's got to be a small but load time. People were like, oh, this is next gen. You'll be able to just zip wherever the hell you want, like No Man's Sky, from planet to planet without a ship. Bullshit. Lie. Not true. Even Insomniac themselves said it. They didn't say it loudly because that would counteract their narrative, but they did say that. The only thing you can do for anyone who's actually played and finished that game, you can skip 5 minutes. I'd say half a mile, not even ahead of you. Oh, there's the teleportation. You press it, boom, you're there. That's it. You can't do anything else beyond that. And that can be duplicated on PlayStation. It can be.
Yeah, but the amount of, and again, I guess you could scale that,
you
but the
can
amount of effects on screen and
as has
all
been
those
said
things
many times,
couldn't be done.
Graphical technology can be scaled. Design cannot. Okay? And because design cannot, that's why they couldn't zip you from world A to world B in an instant. All they did, even in those instances where you hit the little crystal and it changes, yeah, it changes the environment, but the underlying environment is exactly the same. Yeah, this bridge might be broken here, but there's a bridge on the other side that's exactly the same. It's not a completely different world where they jump to immediately because the SSD is that fast. They're just hiding it strategically and using marketing to hide that too.
Let's be clear that the SSD is what enabled
fast.
it, and I
but
think
it's not like
I'm
game
not saying
changing.
Only that SSD could do it, but
exactly.
I don't think you're going to do that on a mechanical drive. Now there are ways around it. There are ways around it, but I think that the tech they are using in this is the thing. Just hear me out for a second.
I'm listening. Yeah.
I am not saying that there are not other ways that could achieve a similar result, right?
The end user would not know the difference. It would be exactly the same thing.
I'm saying technically what they were doing, the way it was implemented requires an SSD. That's all I'm saying.
That. But that's not the point. The point isn't all the ways they got things done, because nobody cares about that. Nobody ever sees that. All they see is the result. And I'm telling you, the result that's on PS5 can be on PS4 if they so chose. They chose not to, and they're using marketing to hide that fact. And it could still come, and I bet you it could still run on a disk for 5400 RPM drive. It can do it. I know other games that have done this exact feature. You know the whole thing of you're in this world and that world. The Medium. Remember when the Medium came out and everybody was like, this. I wish Slow-Mo was here, because this counteracts that as well. I'm an Xbox guy. I love my Xbox. When the Medium came out and they went, this is next gen, I'm like, pump your brakes, folks, because many games do exactly this. There have been many games that have done exactly the same on an old ass crusty hard drive. They're able to do it. There's a game. Remember this TV show called Heroes?
What's the name of it?
Heroes. It was a TV show on NBC way long ago.
Okay. I don't know if
there are a lot of people that watched that. It was before the MCU proper. NBC tried to make a TV show about superheroes, about people who just get superpowers.
Heroes. Yes.
You
save
saw that,
the
right?
cheerleader, save the world.
That's right, exactly. There's a Heroes game. Do you know this? It's on Xbox One.
Okay.
Yeah, that game does exactly what the Medium does, and does it better. But it was a bad game, so nobody ever played it. I've played that game. You can switch between this world and that world whenever you want. And in this world, there are enemies, and in that world, there isn't. That door is blocked. You switch to the other side. The door's open. You go there. You switch back. You're in the past and in the present, and things change. And then use it on the Xbox One with the 5400.
But again, RPM. This is when it comes back to
it's about the
implementation. Yes, it's the end result, the implementation. Once the developers are given the constraints,
and that's fine. And Insomniac themselves have come out and said they saw this stuff that Heroes was fire. I agree there, Scrubners. I think it went downhill.
It was fire in the first season.
When Insomniac themselves have actually come out and said that they saw the speed of the SSD, tried they demoed it for themselves. They did a tech demo to see how fast they could push it, and then based on that, they built the game. So they built the game, they built the tech before they built the game around that tech, which. Look, I'm not saying it's crap and it's not worthy. It is worthy. I've beaten the game. I thought it was fun and I enjoyed it. I played every Ratchet and Clank game. I enjoyed the old one. I enjoyed this.
This was my first Ratchet and Clank game. Now,
you should play the other one. But
no, I shouldn't.
What I will say is, at the end of the day, to say that my PC can't play that game is wrong. To say that Xbox can't play that game is wrong. To say the PS4 is not capable of playing that game is wrong.
I stop at the PS4 part of it, but
look. Yes, dumb down the effects. That happens all the time. How many PC gamers out there?
Cool.
Happens all the time.
Let me, because I got to get out of here now. But
please go ahead.
Let me just give impressions on the game. Right. Mm-hmm. I think aside from the sort of teleporting and all that stuff, first of all, have you ever played Portal?
Of course.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Right?
With an old-ass hard drive. And it still worked beautifully. And that really teleported everywhere. Way more than this did.
Exactly. So that whole...
So anyway, there we go.
Anyway, but aside from that, the game in and of itself, I think that there are issues with the camera getting stuck in the wrong places.
Very much. I keep falling through worlds.
Right. And the camera can get stuck, and then you won't be able to move it with the right stick.
Going.
You have to jump out of where you are because it's in the corner. I think the camera, normally the camera things should get transparent when they're obstructing your view. That doesn't happen when it's supposed to. I think that the aiming, really, you're just aiming in a general direction, but it's not. It's really purposeless.
It's too strong. Yep.
Right. And you don't really have a sense of where people are coming from all around. And I think just because they could add so many effects that maybe they should not have, because it's very hard to tell what's going on in a big firefight.
It seems like Insomniac got the word that Sony is making this showcase. So throw it all on the screen. And they did, to the detriment of gameplay.
Right, exactly. So those are my little gripes, but I would still give it that 8.8
and guess
or
what?
9.
As soon as I finished the game, and I was like, yo, this was great. The PlayStation 5 crashed. It wouldn't turn off my PlayStation 5. It was like, okay, we're turning it off. This is what happened to me. We're turning it off. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back to my office. 3 hours later, it's still turning off. I had to unplug it and hope for the best. Oh, and Shinobi on Twitter. You know Shinobi, who I'm talking about. Yeah. He finished playing the game, had to send his PS5 back. Dead. He's still waiting for his PS5 to return. So, again, I'm not saying this is a shitty game or whatever. I played it. I paid the $70. I still think it's worth that price. I think it's worth that price because it's fun. If you're a stickler on time, like time to value, then maybe it might not worth that price to you because it only took me, 16 hours to beat the whole thing. I might go back and clean up some things, but it wasn't that long of a game. But it was
something that takes me 16 hours is worth. I spend more than that when I was going to the movies with the family. So
exactly.
I can spend $70 for 16 hours worth of entertainment.
There are those who play Persona who are hundreds of hours, and that's their $60 game. If you are that person, you might have a problem with the value to monetary ratio. But I don't.
So, like I said, and in playing it, right, you can see what the set pieces are amazing. The story was fine. The
characters,
Rivet
the acting is great, but the gameplay is boring because it's basically a skin.
Oh yeah, Rivet is a Ratchet skin, or maybe Ratchet
the character itself was great. Their characters were great. Their personality, it was wonderful. It's just when it comes to gameplay, it's literally the same guy, same thing.
But I do like how they broke things up with the dimensional rifts that you had to fix with Clank, and I like the little side pocket dimension stuff where you had to do those platforming exercises because that's the only time you really do hardcore platforming.
You're right.
Right. So that part of it was good and it broke up all the shooting. But I think there's work to be done on the camera and the shooting work. And I think they
fall through the world a couple times here and there.
There's too much going on screen, and I do think that they have to dip the resolution at times. One of the smartest and most deceptive moves that Sony has ever done is normalizing photo mode, where they turn up the graphics just in that still frame,
just there,
right? And because they don't have to use cycles on AI and all those other things, remember, and then people share that and use that as an example of the graphics, where that's not really the case.
But that's also was their undoing in this whole console war thing, because when Control came out, that was also a thing.
But then they got mad at everybody for using photo mode as an example.
Exactly. But then what did they do? when you add photo mode, then it gives you the bulk, the maximum of PlayStation. It gives you the maximum of Xbox. And in that instance is when people saw that, oh, when you max to max, Xbox is about 30% higher than PlayStation. And they were like, no, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's what they did. It kind of ruined them. You know?
So my point is, I don't think it is as polished as Spider-Man or Miles Morales.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But it's not detrimental. So
No. I would still like give it like a 9 out of 10 because I enjoyed the experience.
I would say 8 out of 10. I'm not sure. I'm not so great on the gameplay. The gameplay was kind of, you played it. Like you didn't. I was hoping for more. The old Ratchet and Clank games, you get so many guns. And they're crazier and better. And they downplayed the guns. They limited them. Usually it's like a free for all of crazy.
I want to be clear. That's the other thing. The other guns were not interesting to me.
No,
I used 4 guns the whole game, and the only times the other ones got used is if I ran out of bullets.
That's right. You see, and that's not a Ratchet and Clank game. Ratchet and Clank is all about the multiple crazy guns and all the things they do and all this. This had some of that, but it's almost like they knew that most would use maybe 10% of it, so those got the focus, and the others were just kind of throwaway. So no, if the time came and would be recommended to somebody to play, oh yeah, I would recommend somebody to play it. You know, this is a great game. It's fun. People should play it. But the idea that it is the showcase, this is what shows what Xbox, what PlayStation can do. I still think that's still out. Like we still
and I also want to be clear about when I say I don't think it can be done on PlayStation. I think the opening set piece and the ending set piece where you're kind of jumping back and forth, I think that's where you get the most kind of teleportation action and jumping from world to world.
And in that instance, when you're saying in that instance, I hear you, but that could have easily been done by making those cutscenes on PS4. Because like as soon as the cutscene is done and you give control back to the player, then they're back to normal. You can totally do that. You didn't have to render it in engine on PS5. Yes, you can. Great. PS4 could have been a cutscene that then almost a quick time event that then gives you control as soon as it's done. Could have easily been done because Ratchet and Clank, the past ones, have done that all the time. So the idea,
maybe I'm saying this because I didn't play the last Ratchet and Clank.
You know, the idea this is the only one that can do that. Yeah, there are different methods. Back to our grand point, right? Just because you have the best hammer doesn't mean you make the best house. It's the skilled users that make the best house. And Insomniac, by no doubt, is definitely skilled. Yeah.
But again, I think
all I'm saying is if you give this game to Insomniac and say, okay, now you need a PS4 version, there will be a PS4 version and it will look exactly the same.
But the magic is that people believe it. It doesn't. This is what it is about as a developer, hiding the scenes.
Sure.
They've done their job. So if they can 100%. Convince people that it can only be done here and make them feel like it's the best graphics they've ever seen, which I don't think they are.
No.
They've done their job. So hats off to them. But I do just a pirate's life. I said, I'm just going out on my maiden voyage.
Yeah, I need to start that myself.
Really liking what it is. I do not care to play with anyone else.
Okay.
So we'll see if I get ruined by people.
So if I like hit you up on a game and say let's get on a ship together, you'll say no. That's better than beats, man. Come on now.
What can I say, man? I don't like people.
Single player selfish experience.
Yes. Yeah. No. I do. No. I want to be clear though. I actually would put together like a pirate crew because I want to see what it's like.
That game seems like it's valuable there.
You can pick different tiers of ships. And if you choose the large ship, I think the minimum you need is like 4 or 5 people. But I'm on the small ship.
It's real fun. You're on the slope, the sloop. I think they call it the slope.
Yeah.
So one of those.
So, but
we should do that. Yes.
The fact that they put that together and said we're going to make a game that's specifically about being pirates, like I think that's super dope. And again, just looking at the water and listening into it. Sometimes I don't even want to stop
the music.
At an island. I just kind of want to sail and chill.
It's real fun. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That is all. That's what I will be playing until the Ascent comes out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, me too. I'm all about the Ascent. I will mention a few things real quick before we go because I've been meaning to talk about it and I haven't. I've been playing a bit more of my PC games on my PC because I have that hardware.
Traitor.
Heathens. No, I've been playing more of that because it's like you have this kick-ass hardware and you barely use it and you're gaming on your Xbox. And more often than not, I end up having to play here because I'm working in my office so much and I'm not working as much. I'm not playing as much in my living room. But Proteus, have you heard of Proteus?
Never.
It is on Game Pass. It just joined Game Pass relatively
Game
recently,
Pass for
a couple
PC?
days ago. I think it's also on console. I know. I've been playing Iron Harvest, which is only on PC. It's basically like Gears Tactics, if you will, but it's think of Stalker or the Stalker kind of development team, but making a Gears Tactics kind of game. So it's very Eastern European, and it's got the steampunk aesthetic, and it's a tactics game. Really fun game on Game Pass. I just installed it. It's on the PC version of Game Pass. Proteus is like old school but new school at the same time, and gory as effing hell. Doom aesthetic, but it's got some new school kind of effects, and it's gory. You should look it up. Like super gory. Also on Game Pass. I think it's also on console as well as PC. I've been enjoying that. I thought, I'll try it. It's free. Why not give it a shot? And then I end up playing it for like 4 or 5 hours, and I'm like thinking about going back to play it again. It is very good. Gory, crazy, you're just murdering fools and blood splatter everywhere. It's got pixel aesthetic, but it also has 3D at the same time. It's very cool in its visuals. And finally, I've been playing Hot Pursuit 7 Remastered. Remember the Hot Pursuit Remastered?
I do remember.
Yes, it is so fun. Oh my goodness. I'm playing it like I'm back in the late 90s, enjoying the hell out of myself. Again, I'm playing it on PC. I could play it on console, I know, but the PC version is where I happen to be playing it. And then of course I realized I probably should play it on console because on PC there is a bug. Well, not a bug, but the way they built the game does not let you go beyond 60 frames per second. And if 60 frames is where I'm stuck at, might as well play it on a console. I'd want to go higher, but they won't let you because it's a big game.
Can you really see like
but that's
when
what
you
I've been
go
playing.
to 120 frames? I keep trying it and I keep not really noticing it.
I do notice a difference, but it takes time.
And I want to be clear. I have a Predator monitor on PC, right?
Okay.
That's HDMI 2.1. It's 4K, 144 hertz.
Okay.
So don't at me. And for TVs, I have a CX. So
put the creds out there.
No, I'm just saying it's not that my boxes and TVs are not capable. They are. My eyes just can't see it. Maybe I need.
Okay.
Maybe I need to step my glasses game.
What I'm looking at right now is an older 21 by 9 widescreen, ultra wide widescreen, 1440p at 100 hertz per second. Because at the time they had not hit 120 yet. Now they're 240s and plus. So mine goes to 100. No, it's not TCL.
Yeah, I had
Asus. Mine's an Asus.
I had that choice between 240 hertz, 1440, and I went to 4K.
See, and the crazy thing is, I bought this monitor when it cost more and it was more expensive than a 240 hertz monitor today. So I'm like, I should wait. And mine only goes up to 100. Needless to say, but it is an ultra wide screen, 34-inch, like super long. Playing a game on this thing is heavenly. It's amazing. And on the regular screen, I have a 65-inch CX, LG CX. So that's where Xbox and PlayStation. Needless to say, so those are the games I've been playing as well. We're rounding 2.5 hours. Sometimes we just have to let it all out. This was a really good conversation. We will continue to have this conversation. I think we want to bring some folks in that may have different opinions on it, and we'll revisit this. But we appreciate folks who were able to stick with us all the way.
Definitely shout out to Pixelbit G and Scrub Nurse,
Scrub,
and Big Bad Mo, and Slow Mo.
Thank you, Slow Mo, for coming through.
Thank you, everybody,
y'all
for sharing this out too, because I DM'd everybody.
I see a lot of shares. Yep, I see a lot of shares. I see a lot of retweets. We appreciate that. As I always say, we're just trying to grow this. We're trying to find our voice. We appreciate having the conversation with y'all. Like, I think it's great to spend some time focusing on the chat and having conversations with the chat. And getting folks involved in the conversation. So, but until next week, I am K Asante, K_Asante, because I know Mr. Everborn Saga loves my underscore. Without the underscore,
I'm not gonna give you shit today about it, only because I gotta go. But I'm not gonna give you shit about your terrible branding and your underscores. But I'm not doing that today.
Asante. You can find me on Twitter, and on Twitter you will catch me when I'm on the Primetime Gaming Show with Mr. Boomstick Excel. We enjoy being on there. We see a lot of community members also here, so we appreciate you for coming to check us out there. Besides that, Mr. Everborn Saga, where can the fine people find you?
Well, you're not gonna tell them where they can find you on Xbox and PlayStation and Steam?
Angry Old Gamer on PlayStation.
Oh, it's not. Steam. It's not also KSI. Okay, sorry.
I'm about to mute Everborn now.
All right. So you
we're not hero. What happened?
You can find me. You can find me everywhere. Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere at Everborn Saga.
Man loves
and you can also find me, most importantly, everbornsaga.com. It's very simple to remember. There's no underscores, all one word, Everborn Saga. Just so you know where to go. Check out the books. You want to get an Everborn hat like this? You want to get an Everborn mask? You want to get posters like in the back? You want to get Everborn t-shirts? You want to get Everborn comics? All in one place. Because people know where to find me. You see how simple that is, K Asante?
So for me,
branding.
For me and my hater of a co-host, we say till next week.
Yes.